Freaking out, man. You can't handle the truth. You can't handle the truth.
What do all men power want? More power.
My name is Gianluca Zanna. I was an Italian by birth, and I became an American by choice. Our lives and freedoms are in danger. This is not a drill. If you're listening to this broadcasting, you are the resistance.
All systems go.
Welcome to Love, Guns, and Freedom.
We're not afraid.
Hi everybody, this is Luca Zanna, and you're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom on KTOX 1340 AM and on United States.FM network. I said many times, and I will never stop repeating it, the only reason why I'm on this show, honestly, I don't even care about the radio. I never wanted to be on the radio. I couldn't care less, okay? But there is a point. Why am I here? The only reason why I'm here because I think I have a duty as a new American who took an oath to defend this republic against all enemies, foreign and domestic, to try to wake up my fellow Americans, to try to wake up also my fellow humans from anywhere you are around the world. We've been lied. Our rights are under attack every day. We are living pretty much 1 minute before completely 1984 on steroids. Things are not happening for accident. This is not just a mistake that we are living now in this new reality, in this new world order pretty much is already upon us. No. It happened because there is a strategy. There is a conspiracy behind that. A conspiracy to put people in fear. And the only way you can get pretty much stolen of your rights is when you fear. And that's what have been doing governments in history, during the history of humanity. Now, I said, as you can hear at the beginning of the show, sometimes the truth is very hurtful. And can you handle the truth? I faced that myself, at the beginning as a new American. When I came to America in 1998, I had pretty much, a different idea what really America it is today. And don't get me wrong, I love this country. But this country it is not anymore the country that our founding fathers founded. We are living now in almost a matrix. You believe things that they are not real. And unfortunately, we must have the courage to find out what exactly is wrong. Because you cannot fix something until you point out the problem. And the only way we can take this country back, first we must expose the problems. We must expose the lies. We must expose the architects behind this big fraud. And, I'm just a regular guy with an accent. And I wanted to bring you somebody that is not a regular guy. He's a professor, is a scholar, is a scientist, is a man with not only, could be my dad, 70 years of more of life on this planet. But more important, he studied, and he has several degrees in science. And he's going to bring you with you today topics that they are not just for the sake of get controversial or we want to go into conspiracy. No. Everything we're talking today, there is a connection. The connection is these events, they are connected to our loss of freedoms. Simple as that. My name is Luca Zanna. You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom. And I have the honor with me to have Mr. James Fetzer. James, are you there?
Oh, Luca, I'm just delighted to be here, and I appreciate everything you've said. Absolutely spot on.
And perfect. I don't want to just call you James because, you're but you're a professor. Exactly what did you study hard? What is your degree?
I earned my PhD in the history and the philosophy of science. I spent 35 years offering university courses in logic, critical thinking, and scientific reasoning. I retired in 2006. I've been devoting myself, both before and since, to the complex and controversial issues of our time, including JFK, 9/11, the plane crash that took the death of Senator Paul Wellstone, Sandy Hook, the Boston bombing, and now most recently Jade Helm.
Exactly. And you know what? I've been following your work since almost the beginning after 9/11. And I tell you honestly, my first instinct say, who is this guy? He must be crazy. But, think about it. We are such a, the planners, they put such a psyops on us, regular people. And I started to understand that I was under the influence of the matrix when, of course, I started to use my brain. Because, the moment that you turn the TV off and you start to get away from their mantra, their brainwashing, and you start to say, wait a second, let's not be emotional. And that's what exactly I'm asking today to the listeners. Let's not be emotional. Use your brain. Use the logic like you are. And then you analyze the evidence. And then you realize, I realize, at least speaking for myself, we've been lied. And I'm sure you understand, for me, probably it was even harder. I came all the way from Italy to become an American. How it can be so hard waking up in 2001, 9/11, and start to realize that something doesn't add up. It took me 1 year at least to start to really realize there is something terribly wrong. And at the beginning, you don't want almost to see the reality. You try to avoid it. But we can't do that. So I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart, because you are one of the first people that really, like almost with tough love, you brought up evidence that I didn't want to see. And I am not ashamed to say at the beginning I was fighting it. My emotion was fighting it. But then I surrendered to the logic, I surrendered to the truth, and I want to thank you for that.
Well, I'm grateful to hear that, Luca, and there have been many efforts to suppress my work and to distort who I am. For example, I participated in a conference less than 2 years ago on the campus of the University of Illinois, Champaign-Urbana, on academic freedom. Mm-hmm. Are there limits to inquiry? JFK, 9/11, and the Holocaust.
Yeah.
And my entry on Wikipedia, which had been quite substantial with a great deal of explanation and citation to my research on JFK, where I've published 3 collections of expert studies. I've chaired or co-chaired 5 national conferences on 9/11, where I founded Scholars for 9/11 Truth in December of 2005, organized its first national conference in Madison in 2007, its first international conference in London in 2010, its second international conference in Vancouver in 2012, and the other subjects I've described was simply gutted after I participated in that event, which appears to be because Wiki is a Zionist op, and they're going to criticize any exposure of the fact that the Holocaust narrative, we've been told, cannot be sustained. And in fact, I had a copy of the website of my entry on Wiki I had taken shortly before, so I published an expose of what happened entitled James H. Fetzer, Wikipedia, the Free Encyclopedia Busted, which you can find on veteranstruth.network.com today, mm-hmm. where I contrast what's up now with what was up then. And, Luca, they took out more than 2/3 of my entry.
List, I would like to start with you from some basics, because maybe we know things, me and you, we've been talking for years, but there are a lot of other people that I would like to reach out, new people, okay? First of all, when you said Zionist, okay, because people think, oh, my God, this guy is against the Jews. They're 2 different things, right? Let's explain, because, I have half of my blood, I have Jewish blood in me. Zionist, it is not what we think. Can we explain exactly what is the difference between Zionism and just to be a Jew?
Well, certainly. I mean, to be a Jew is to have a certain ethnic origin mm-hmm. or a certain religious affiliation. To be a Zionist is to endorse a political agenda that combines a belief in Jewish superiority with an entitlement to all the lands of Palestine, indeed, from the Tigris, Euphrates to the Nile. So they're completely different. Not all Jews are Zionists. Not all Zionists are Jews. And in particular, to be anti-Zionist is not to be anti-Semitic, because to be critical of the actions and policies of the government of Israel, exemplified most recently in the massive assault on Gaza, for example, is not to be anti-Semitic, which is to discount or disvalue an individual or their opinions on the basis of their ethnic origin or their religious beliefs, which I do not do.
Exactly. And this is my point, because, we need to start to learn the truth about everything. And the terms, the words, the terminology is so important, because they will hide behind even just words, And for example, today I was reading a news. Israel wants now $4.5 billion a year in U.S. aid, so they can buy more ammunition, more tanks, more whatever. My point is this, and this is the message for all the people out there that they consider themselves conservatives, that they oppose Obama socialism, and I'm with them. I can stand Obama, and I don't like to be, coerced to pay for somebody else. I like charity. I don't like coercion from the government. But when people they call themselves, let's say, conservatives, and they don't want socialism, don't you see that this redistribution of wealth at the international global level, like giving to Israel $4.5 billion a year, money that we do not have, that we have to go back to China, from China, or to go more in debt with a private Federal Reserve. Why? What type of logic out there does justify that? That's my point. There is something bigger. I really believe there is, like, our Congress is being hijacked by pretty much lobbies, and this is a fact, and there is no way that in the Constitution is written that I'm supposed to pay for somebody else, some other countries, the national debt or whatever aid they need. Okay, that's not right. What do you think about that?
Luca, you're right. You're right on target. Cynthia McKinney has recently revealed that every new member of Congress is asked to sign a pledge that they will support the interests of Israel even over the interests of the United States. And if they do not sign the pledge, then the Israeli faction runs a candidate against them, finances heavily, and gets them out of Congress. That's exactly what happened to Cynthia. Your point about the role of the Israeli lobby is equally spot on. JFK required the World Zionist Council to register as a foreign agent. He would have done the same with AIPAC. It should be done today, but of course, no politician has the courage to do it. And when you talk about now the United States sending an additional $1.9 billion in weapons to Israel, this is completely outrageous indeed. Earlier in the year, the Pentagon quietly released a report from 1987 conducted by the Defense Intelligence Agency that revealed that Israel had already developed not only atomic weapons, but even a hydrogen bomb already in the 80s, which means that it's a nuclear state that has never declared its possession of these weapons of mass destruction, where under American foreign policy guidelines, the United States cannot provide foreign aid to any nation with undeclared nuclear weapons. I'm hoping, therefore, that Obama will publicly declare that Israel is a nuclear state and thereby preclude any more foreign aid going to this nation that's not only apartheid but a terrorist state, the foremost practitioner of false flag attacks in the world today.
And, exactly. The people out there, I know a lot of people, they mean well, probably. They think, you know enough. We don't know enough. The learning curve, it never ends. Okay, I'm just learning. I'm just scratching the surface. But one thing I tell you guys, the evidence is out there. Let's start with the logic. If you believe that socialism is not the answer, why should we give international socialism for weapons to another country? More important, money that we do not have. We have to go in debt. We are $18 trillion in debt, and we need to give $4.5 billion to another country just to buy more weapons. This is insanity. For all the people out there that want to support Israel, fine. That's your right. It's called open your checkbook and send them a check. Okay? And do not force me to pay with my own tax dollar for something that never and nowhere in the Constitution is written that I'm supposed to do. So, done that, we move on. And people say, you know what, this is a conspiracy. Guess what? Check it out. The evidence is out there. We're giving more money to Israel than probably to some part of our country that we need the most. Anyway.
It's ludicrous and rationally indefensible. And when you talk about socialism, the United States has mixed programs. Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, unemployment insurance, workman compensation are all examples of what could be described as socialism, but they benefit the people. It's a government helping the people. And while we claim to be a capitalistic society, Adam Smith in The Wealth of Nations defined 5 principles for a free market, none of which, Luca, apply in the United States today. We don't have transparency in pricing. We don't have open markets. We don't have competition. American industries prefer monopolies to an actual competition with other companies. So it's ridiculous. We have an ideology of freedom and democracy, but we don't practice it. We support one tyrannical, despotic regime after another. We have denied other countries the right to their own democratically elected governments. We did this in Chile. We've done it in Guatemala, El Salvador, Nicaragua, Vietnam, Laos, Cambodia, now Iraq, Libya, Afghanistan. The situation is appalling. In fact, the United States nations has recently been focusing on the absolutely horrendous human rights record of the United States itself.
This is another thing, unfortunately, I need to agree with you. And when people say, what the heck are you talking about? We are the land of the free, home of the brave. Maybe we used to be. Now we are the land of the free and home of the slaves. And I tell you why. Just 2 pieces of legislation we can analyze. One is the Patriot Act. That was under Bush. Everything was okay because it was a Republican. And now we have the National Defense Authorization Act that pretty much brings us back before pre-Magna Carta. Now, we go back into the Middle Ages. The king, in this case, the president, the executive, the government, okay, the state, can pretty much declare any one of us, just because suspected with no due process, nothing, no judge, no jury, no trial, any one of us, just because they maybe don't like our face, they don't like our haircut, or maybe they don't like what we're saying, we can be suspected to be terrorist, level like that, and we can be completely thrown in the dungeon, not even anymore in jail, with no process, no access to nothing, tortured and killed. Am I saying something out of control, or this is true?
You're completely correct. In fact, the Senate Committee on Homeland Security released a report on 3 October 2012 based upon its review of 680 studies from fusion centers, where fusion centers merge federal, state, and local anti-terrorist activity, gathered between 2009 and 2010, Luca. And would you believe in those 680 studies from all over the country, they found not a single instance of domestic terrorist activity, not one, zilch, nada, zero, zip. Nor did they find any case in which a fusion center had interfered with an incipient or planned terrorist attack. That's such a large and varied sample, Luca. It's perfectly reasonable to draw the statistical inference that domestic terrorism is, if not completely non-existent, virtually non-existent. Well, we have a recent report from a CIA case officer who knows these matters confirming that every terrorist attack since 9/11 has been conducted by the government, especially by the FBI.
Wow.
And where we know that 9/11 was brought to us compliments of the CIA, the neocons in the Department of Defense, and the Mossad.
Okay, let's start to analyze, because, the time is short, and as I said to the listeners, I'm not going to be able to give you in 1 hour all the answers and all the proofs, but maybe I hope so. At least I can get you some curiosity out there, and you can start the trail and see how deep you want to go, okay? So, but my point was this exactly. No, we are not free anymore. And these are just the first statement that I will prove now also why and how we get to this situation with the Patriot Act, with the National Defense Authorization Act. There are different reasons of fears they put into us, events called false flag, okay? False flags is a very specific term. Please, you're such eloquent. Can you explain exactly what is a false flag?
Sure. Historically, it originated when pirate ships would fly the flag of a friendly nation as they approached another ship they wanted to attack, and only just before they attacked would they bring it down and run up the skull and bones to identify themselves as pirates. Mm-hmm. That was where the original false flags. But we've had a history of them. Hitler employed them to try to create the impression that Poland was attacking Germany. That was a false flag. The sinking of the Lusitania in World War I, when it was actually transporting military equipment in its hold, was another for the way it was portrayed. Roosevelt actually knew and had provoked the Japanese into attacking us at Pearl Harbor, so we blamed it on Japan, but we allowed it to happen. Mm-hmm. More recently, there have been false flag attacks in relation to Israel. The bombing of the King David Hotel, for example, in 1946, to drive the British out of Palestine, was conducted by a group of Irgun terrorists dressed as Arabs. That was a classic false flag. Mm-hmm. The Israelis attacked an American spy ship, the USS Liberty, in 1967, which was maintaining surveillance of the Israeli-Egyptian war. They attacked it and sought to sink it in order to blame it on the Egyptians and draw the United States into the war, but the ship did not sink. That was another example. In Argentina in 1992 and 1994, because Argentina had been cooperating with Iran in the peaceful development of nuclear energy, they blew up their own embassy in 1992.
Exactly.
And killed about 24. They claimed it was a car bomb, Luca, but the building exploded from the inside out. And when that didn't get enough attention, they attacked their own Jewish community center 2 years later, 1994, and killed about 84. To make it more spectacular, There was never any evidence that tied Iran to it, but it was a classic example of Israel trying to promote its own agenda and punish other countries that don't conform to its desires and expectations. The most recent case of which was in France with the Charlie Hebdo shooting, which was clearly a staged attack. There was even an X on the roadway where the vehicle was to park so they'd have the best view, frame of reference from the surveillance camera. The police officer lying on the ground when shot in the head, his head didn't explode, there was no blood. A witness and reporter had seen the police show up to lay down blood later, after the fact. They talked about how this grocery store was a kosher deli. It was all intended to make you think that it was an anti-Semitic attack, when in fact it sprang from the fertile mind of Benjamin Netanyahu, who was upset because Palestinian support was growing in France. They wanted a Palestinian state. The Israelis react in a very severe way to anyone who supports a Palestinian state, where their new deputy foreign secretary has declared, this is our land, all of it. They don't want a solution to the problem with the Palestinians. For them, the solution would be to load all the Palestinians aboard a ship, take it out to sea, and sink it.
James, let me give an example to the listeners. What you're saying, probably for the first people that never heard about this stuff, say, you must be crazy. How dare you talking about these false flags? Our government would never do that. Okay. Let me show you a declassified documents directly from the CIA website that everybody now can pretty much Google and download the original copies, okay? That pretty much show the mindset of a false flag. And you can articulate on that. It's called Operation Northwoods, okay? There are more than 1,500 pages, pretty much declassified. The point is, what exactly is this Operation Northwoods? In few words, exactly who was behind this Operation Northwoods and what they wanted to accomplish and what they wanted to do to the American people.
Well, it apparently originated in a conversation between Lyman Lemnitzer, who was then the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and Dwight Eisenhower, then president, who was concerned with the rise of Castro in Cuba, where reportedly Eisenhower suggested if you don't have a real reason for attacking Cuba, invent one. The chiefs took that seriously and came up with all kinds of contrived scenario, including even taking a plane load of students on a holiday, flying it over Cuba and shoot it down, blame it on Castro. Officially, in the fine print, it said they'd offload the students in an airport and replace them with dummies. But can you imagine one of these live students turning up in the United States or one of these dummies after the fact?
Yeah.
JFK was using Maxwell Taylor to vet all these proposals coming from the chiefs, and he was turning them down, which was one of the reasons, when combined with his decision to pull our forces out of Vietnam, all of them completely, that they turned against him and threw in as supporters of the assassination of the President of the United States, which they themselves facilitated. His body was stolen from Dallas in violation of the law, taken to Bethesda Medical Hospital, but by way of Walter Reed, where the best forensic pathologists in the military were located, who removed different bullet fragments. The different assassins, and I've identified 6, where there appears to have even been a 7th, were using different weapons. So they wanted to make sure that the wrong bullet fragments didn't turn up before the body was taken over to Bethesda in a black ambulance and unloaded at the back of the morgue, while meanwhile Jackie Kennedy in a gray Navy ambulance was proceeding with the elaborate bronze coffin to the front of Bethesda Naval Hospital, where I had conversation with the radiation technologist who took the x-rays. He was headed upstairs in the company of 2 Secret Service agents when he looked out the front and saw this huge entourage, the gray Navy ambulance, Jackie heading up the steps, and he asked himself what in the world's going on, because the body was already in the morgue undergoing autopsy.
Wow. So listen, guys, that's my bottom line. Just give me the keywords. We cannot, 10 hours wouldn't be enough to show you all the evidence about JFK, what happened, what really happened. Movies that have been made, documentaries. The point is, use your logic, okay? If you really think that a poor marksman with a very poor rifle, like a Carcano rifle, without, any type of really chance to place hits like that, if you want to give, James, to the public, one magic point that should really make everybody think that the JFK assassination or murder, in this case, never really was the version that the government gave us. Just the biggest evidence we can show to people using logic, since you're a logic person.
He had a fist-sized blowout at the back of his head caused by a shot from a front that entered the vicinity of the right temple, which the government obscured in the X-rays. They covered it up. They patched the X-ray to conceal it. We had witness after witness reporting it, including all the physicians at Parkland, and then they altered the Zapruder film to paint it over, but in the early frames where you see the hit taking place. But the Zapruder film has been massively edited. The limousine actually was brought to a complete halt, Luca, to make sure JFK would be killed. During that halt, he was hit at least twice in the head, once in the back. He slumped forward. Jackie eased him back up, was looking him right in the face when he was hit in the right temple by that frangible or exploding bullet that blew his brains out the left rear with such force that when they impacted with motorcycle patrolman Bobby Hargis riding there, he initially thought he himself had been shot. During the limo stop, Hargis got off his bike, ran between the limousines toward the grassy knoll from which he believed the shot had been fired. 5 Secret Service agents unloaded from the Secret Service limousine and surrounded the presidential. One took a chunk of JFK's skull that a little boy had picked up and threw it back in the car before they all took off. All of this was removed from the extant version of the Zapruder film, Luca, but it occurred to me that they were focusing so much around frame 3, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, in the immediate aftermath of what remained of their attempt to merge the 2 shots to the back of the head slumping forward and the second shot, that they might have overlooked that it could be seen later on. And I discovered in frame 374, you can actually see the blowout to JFK's head.
Yeah,
I have reported all of this many places, but online some video studies include what happened to JFK and why it matters today, which I presented at the University of Wisconsin-Madison in 2011. JFK at 50, the who, the how, and the why, 2012. The assassination of America from the Santa Barbara conference I organized in 2013 on the occasion of the 50th observance. You can find all of that online on YouTube. Check it out if you want more.
Yes. And my point is this, guy, why people may say, what does it really matter now? We are 2015. You know what, guys? First of all, it matters because if somebody, an organization or a rogue government or anybody is behind, is able, has the power to pull this trick, and I'm saying, trick means to kill, to murder the most powerful man we have in our government, or at least the person that the most powerful office that we have. Even, of course, I believe Congress is supposed to be equally powerful, but that's another story. Can kill the president of the United States and get away with that murder. Think about it now. The sky is the limit. What they can do to any one of us. And then what they've done the last 50, 60 years. And now we will go there. That's why it's so important. Another thing I want to say, I always mention the private Federal Reserve, and that's probably one of the roots of our cancer that we have in this republic, or what is left of this republic. Now, there is an executive order. There was an executive order signed by President Kennedy. Was Executive Order 1110. Can you articulate briefly exactly what he was trying to do, JFK, with his executive order before he got killed?
JFK had directed the Department of Treasury to print hundreds of millions of United States notes on the ground that it was absurd to pay a consortium of private banks interest for printing the currency of the United States. I remember as a young Marine Corps officer holding one of these bills in my hand, Luca. It had a red embossed imprint. It said United States note instead of green, Federal Reserve note, and this caused the Eastern establishment surrounding the Fed to throw in with the Joint Chiefs, the CIA, the anti-Castro Cubans, the Mafia, the Texas oilmen, and Israel, because JFK was at loggerheads with David Ben-Gurion, one of the founders and the first prime minister of Israel, over their desire to develop nuclear weapons, which JFK opposed. So all of those groups constitute the sponsors of the assassination.
Exactly.
The mechanics were the shooters on the ground, where, as I observe, I've identified 6 of them. One was a Dallas deputy sheriff, another U.S. Air Force expert, another a Dallas police officer with ties to the CIA, another an anti-Castro Cuban, another CIA mafia guy, another JFK, Lyndon Johnson's personal hitman, who incidentally, Luca, murdered a dozen people for Lyndon, including one of his own sisters.
Wow. Where
they were supervised on the ground by none other than George Herbert Walker Bush, who appears to have been in the Dal Tech supervising 3 shots with a Mannlicher Carcana, which were the only unsilenced shot to create the acoustical impression of only 3 shots having been fired, and by General Edward Lansdale, who is photographed there walking past the 3 tramps and subsequently waiting to speak to George H.W. Bush, who appears to have played a key role in organizing the assassination, but where the principal facilitators were none other than Lyndon Johnson, who even sent his chief administrative assistant down to Clark Clifford, down to his chief administrative assistant down to Dallas to make sure all the arrangements were in place for the assassination. And J. Edgar Hoover used the FBI to cover it up. Lyndon and Hoover were very tight.
Exactly.
Cliff Carter was the name of the assistant he sent down to Dallas to make sure all the arrangements were in place for the assassination.
Exactly, guys. So this is just scratching the surface. And remember, as always, cui bonus. Who is going to benefit of this? There is more one way. There's more than one person. There is more than one organization. By the end of the day, you need to look at the big picture. Now, enough said about the JFK. Of course, never would be enough, but at least we want to move on to next, because the point is, it is all part of the same plan. It's a long-term plan to pretty much destroy our freedoms and to put us in this slave's state of mind that we are surrendering our rights to the government just because we have the illusion they need to protect us from something that is being created by them in the first place. Now, 9/11, you are one of the most articulated person out there. With 9/11, I mean, you got so much that you study about it. You also have a different type of theory, from the implosion, from the different. Please give us in few words. 9/11. Everybody think they know it, and maybe we do, some of us. But honestly, nobody really knows for sure everything. But give us your version. What really happened?
To understand 9/11, you have to go back to the demise of the Soviet Union in 1990-91, which meant that the military-industrial complex needed a new boogeyman to justify the vast expenditures on military weapons. Remember, the peace dividend we never got. Benjamin Netanyahu also seized it as an opportunity to get the United States involved in wars against the modern Arab states that stood as a counterbalance to Israel's domination of the Middle East. All of them came together on 9/11, where the whole thing about everything we've been told by the government, virtually without exception, is false. The phone calls from the planes were all fabricated or fake. David Ray Griffin has a wonderful article about it on Global Research. Elias Davidson has observed that the government was never able to show any of the hijackers were aboard any of the planes. Colonel George Nelson, U.S. Air Force, retired, has observed that of the millions of uniquely identifiable component parts from the plane crashes, the government is yet to produce even one. All 4 of the crash sites appear to have been fabricated or faked, albeit in different ways. The buildings in New York City were blown apart in every direction by a powerful source of energy, which the best analyses appear to support was a sophisticated distribution of mini or micro nukes. These are very small, not Hiroshima or Nagasaki type weapons. They have a dialable radius. The buildings were 208 feet on the side. If you put them in the core columns, you could set their radius at 100 feet, 200 feet diameter, direct them upward, and you could blow the floors in a succession that would simulate a collapse, except if you contrast what happened with the Twin Towers with Building 7, which actually was a collapse. You'll notice Building 7, which came down at 5:20 in the afternoon, doesn't blow apart. It just comes straight down, and you got a massive stack of debris, which is what we experience with controlled demolitions, equal to about 12% of the height of the original, or 5.5 floors. With 110-story Twin Towers, there should have been 12, 13 floors of debris, but in fact, they were actually destroyed 2 or even below ground level, Luca. I have Father Frank Morales, who was a first responder from St. Mark's Episcopal Church, came on my radio show twice and explained how those buildings were destroyed 2 or below ground level.
Excellent, excellent. Listen, guys, there are so much information out there. All I'm trying to do here is start to use logic, just listening to these keywords that James Harry Fetzer, an American who is not afraid to face the truth. That's all we're trying to do here, okay? And I invite everybody to challenge this information, because I want you to challenge. I want you to do exactly what I did years ago when I couldn't believe. I was in state of shock. It took me probably about 2 months to just try to metabolize the new awakening, and then, verify everything, of course. and then finally admit it. We have a big problem. We've been taken over from within, okay? And people can say, our government, not everybody's our government, okay? There are some elements that they are part of this government that is no more our government, okay? That's my point. And we cannot just close our eyes and hoping that the problem is going to go away and we'll live still in Kansas. This is not Kansas anymore, okay? I told you already with the Patriot Act and National Defense Authorization Act, you could have imagined 40, 50 years ago, James, that we could live in this America right now. That we're pretty much like, I tell you, worse than China. And I tell you why. At least in China, they kidnap you in front of everybody, they give you a phony trial, and then they shoot you in the back. Now, with the National Defense Authorization Act, it did happen because of these events that we let it pretty much happen without challenging them. The 9/11 was a very important, vital part, not just for the phony wars that was completely a fraud, based on fraud, but also for all this creation of police state. That's why it's so important we'll talk about this, and we need to start to face it. I mean,
Luca, you're 100% correct. I'm very impressed by how much you're on top of all of this. I think that's wonderful.
Thank you.
And I would simply add that it looks as though Rand Paul, for example, has been able to defeat the renewal of the Patriot Act, which is a very good thing because it got so many of our rights under the Bill of Rights and the Constitution. The American Freedom Act is another grossly mislabeled piece of legislation. An appeals court has declared that the massive NSA surveillance, which wasn't actually targeting any domestic terrorists, but rather veterans, constitutionalists, Ron Paul supporters, 9/11 truthers, NRA members, anyone who might have the background, the ability, and the wherewithal to stand up and resist the imposition of a military police state by force, where Jade Helm, this massive military exercise taking place right now, appears to be the spearhead of precisely that taking place. And Luca, I'm just absolutely astonished by what's going on here. The American people have to understand. It looks as though Rand Paul and his allies in the Senate can defeat this American Freedom Act, but the American people are going to have to do something about Jade Helm.
Please, since now you're mentioning the keyword, I like to follow, you're leading in this one. Jade Helm, I already talked in the past, the last few weeks. I hope everybody knows, but briefly, give us some updates, what exactly is going on, and what you really think, according to your analysis, what is the scope and the goal of the Jade Helm exercise?
Well, it's a massive military exercise that has been falsely portrayed as a routine drill involving only 1,200 National Guard troops. That's completely wrong. We even have a manual from the U.S. Army from 2008 talking about how they're going to conduct operations right here in the United States, which has heretofore been off limits. So you go back to the Patriot Act, it led to the creation of the Department of Homeland Security, which was modeled on the East German Stasi, the most efficient secret police organization ever designed by the hand of man. They created a North American command. We never before had a military command for the continental United States. Department of Homeland Security has acquired 2 billion rounds of 40 caliber hollow point ammunition, Luca, which is not even permissible in combat under the Hague Convention of 1899 because it blows bodies apart and kills people. Standard military ammunition is pointed, copper jacketed, typically to pass through bodies, take soldiers out of combat without blowing their bodies apart. And now we have this massive operation that's being misrepresented by officials. It's being run by a lieutenant general of the United States Army. This is far removed from the National Guard. It involves representatives of all 4 of the services, especially Green Berets and Special Officer, probably 1,200 armored personnel carriers and other forms of equipment that are being assembled. And as a former Marine Corps officer, I can observe you can't bring together a massive assemblage equipment like that unless you're going to deploy them, because routine maintenance problems create difficulties. They have to be lubed. They have to have oil changes. You need a lift and a garage for that, but they're putting them all out there. We have train cars, 100 trains of military equipment. The largest military convoy ever seen in its history is going through Colorado. This is originally in the 7 southern states, Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, California, Nevada, Utah, and Colorado. Colorado officially opted out, but it looks as though they're not going to get off that easily. And now it's extended into Louisiana, Mississippi, even Florida. A startling aspect of this is the closure of a whole string of Walmarts Luca, because it turns out that there's been a long-standing arrangement between FEMA and Walmart.
Yes.
That if FEMA ever needs these facilities for some national emergency, they can have them. So these stores, at least 5, have been closed abruptly. Their employees have been terminated, told they're going to be closed for at least 6 months. They claim it's plumbing problems, but it has nothing to do with plumbing.
Yeah, right.
They're remodeling the Walmarts, and this is extremely telling, Luca.
Yeah.
They're putting up 8 and 9 foot fences.
Wow.
They're putting dark plastic sheeting over the windows so you can't see what's going on. They're ripping up the floors. A friend of mine who's more expert on this than I said they're going to install arrays of electrodes so that way they put detainees there inside barred facilities are creating that coming in enormous shipping containers that they can subject them to electrical shock, render them unconscious, or even kill them. They are reinforcing the Walmarts with blast-resistant doors that cost $100,000 to $200,000. Anyone who thinks this is an ordinary training op has to think again. You wouldn't be remodeling these Walmarts if it were not something real going on today, right now as we speak.
So let me just be clear. I want to be sure I got it down right. Sometimes I still have limitations with my English. This is real, in your opinion. This is not just some sort of acclimatization of dry run. You think this could be really something happening this summer, in your opinion?
This is absolutely real, and it looks as though they're seeking to conduct extractions. There are reported to be a red list, a blue list, and a yellow list. The red list is those they believe who are leaders of provide information to the public about what's going on here, and that they want to extract them and detain them, or even, I'm sorry to say, kill them in all probability.
Yeah.
And then they go for the blue list, which are the followers of those, but they're targeting veterans, constitutionalists, 9/11 truthers, and the yellow list is the mass of apathetic Americans who don't care about politics, who want their six-pack, their beer, football, baseball, soccer, you name it. That's what they want. They could care less about politics. But these appear to be processing centers. We have over 300 FEMA camps that have been situated all over the country, Luca. What in God's name do we have 300 FEMA camps for? And why does DHS have 2 billion rounds of 40 caliber hollow point? Why is an operation like this taking place? It appears that the Walmarts are going to serve as logistic bases. I mean, that's after all what Walmarts do. They provide supplies.
Yeah.
So they're being cleaned out of non-military supplies. They're being loaded up with military supplies. They're bringing in helicopters. You need a tank? Just consult your Walmart. They'll send you a tank. And they're going to do a preliminary processing of detainees in the Walmarts and then decide which FEMA camp to send them to for those who don't actually have their heads lopped off during the process.
Wow, this is so important. Guys, listeners, please, if this is probably my most important show I've ever done, and I hope I can do others after this for many reasons, because I really believe, unfortunately, I've been following James Fetzer work. He's never been wrong, or at least 99% of the things that he says, they've always been proven by facts. And I wish you were wrong, Fetzer. I really wish many times you said things that I had to verify. This one, when now thinking about what you just made me think, the Walmart factor, okay? This is something that we're talking about huge, big investment, millions of dollars investment. That they don't do just this for a dry run or for something. It's happening. I don't know if it's going to be connected to a false flag or some sort of economic or some sort of a false riot. So they try to incite something. They're going to find an excuse. But I really believe that we are at this point, before the next elections, they need to find an excuse to almost also stop this new trend. I really believe that the American people, they try to wake up, at least maybe not enough, but there is a trend. Don't you think this also maybe the establishment may be afraid of an awakening of the rest of America?
And this just might do it, Luca, because this is such a huge event. We have hundreds and hundreds of Americans who are using their cell phones, taking photographs, videos. We had an event down in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, where a woman filmed one of these Jade Helm platoons taking a dozen civilians into custody. And when they noticed she was filming it, one of them took her cell phone camera and destroyed it right in front of her, which, of course, was a theft and destruction of private property.
Wow.
When they noticed other civilians were filming them taking her camera and destroying it, they disbanded and let their detainees go. But I'll tell you, each one of these reports, and there are hundreds and hundreds of them online, represents a little piece of data which could be individually regarded as uncertain. When you look at the constellation, the pattern of the hundreds of these reports, Luca, it's it's absolutely clear that what is going on is an enormous operation, and it's to the great detriment of the American people. I have no doubt about it. Because the Texans have been so upset about it, the governor of Texas has actually directed the Texas Guard to monitor the events of the Jade Helm troops in Texas. Every other governor of every other state where these troops are being situated should do the same thing. And, you know, it's an outrage that this should be taking place. It's all in violation of posse comitatus, a statute from 1878 that precludes the use of military force to perform police functions. It's all completely illegal. But if the American people don't make a big fuss about it, a lot of noise, consult one another, they could very well succeed, Luca. This is the greatest threat to freedom and democracy in the United States in our nation's history.
Listen, James Fetzer, I have really today make my experience as a new life in America really worth it, just to have met you in person and I can call you my fellow American, my brother in freedom. And I want to be sure, I know the government is listening, even I'm a small radio guy, I'm nobody, but I see my website, zanna.us. I had at least 50 visits from Homeland Security, U.S. government just last month, and that's fine. Honestly, I'm glad. I want to be sure you bastards that you're listening, that you put me in the same list with James Fetzer. I want to be there with you, my friend, because we got to stand up against this evil, and no matter what, no matter the end, we will always win. Because at the end, I really believe this is the trial. The trial, we have a choice. Now, American people, you have a choice to be silent and pretty much let evil flourish, and you are guilty no matter what. When you're silent, you consent, or you start to stand up, rise up, and say, screw you, screw you, screw you. I give you the middle finger. I'm not afraid to explain to you exactly where I stand. I'm here. I stand for freedom. I stand for the Republic. I stand for the Constitution and Bill of Rights. I'm not afraid of your fascism, and I'm not afraid to die if I have to, because at the end of the day, we're all going to die. The only difference, you're going to die with the regrets of the things you wanted to do and you couldn't do because you were a sheep, or you're going to die as a free human being. And this is just from a guy that has an accent. He wasn't born here. And, I'm just a regular guy. I didn't apply for any special forces or whatever. I'm a regular guy, but I'm not your slave. Simple as that.
And, Luca, let me say, there are all kinds of interference with normal communication websites. I have a website that's been up forever, 911scholars.org, and now it's come under attack, and they have a computer that is repeatedly attacking it so much that I have a temporary denial of service. I had published 150 articles on veteranstoday.com, and the senior editor recently, because I was publishing about Jade Helm, and he didn't want me to publish about Jade Helm, he deleted all 150 of my articles.
Wow.
Luca, it's absolutely scandalous. I'm now publishing with Veterans Truth Network, and you can find a lot about Jade Helm there. So I encourage people to go to veteranstruthnetwork.com, check out the articles on Jade Helm, including Gordon Duff covering for Jade Helm in the Boston bombing, Jade Helm, Kevin Barrett, and Gordon Duff moved to the dark side, Jade Helm military exercise or dawn of America's hell. There's a lot there. I also have a video show now with 60 video shows just this year since January.
Yes.
The Real Deal with the Media Broadcasting Center, MBC. Go online and go to Media Broadcasting Center, The Real Deal Archives, and you'll find it, because I've been doing a lot of shows about Jade Helm. These are 2-hour shows with other experts. I show you the evidence. I show you the photographs of the convoys. I show you the photographs of the Walmarts and what's going on there. Check that out. It's all there.
Exactly. Please, that's how you just. I'm glad you said that, because I was going to ask you, how can people find your work? And this show doesn't give enough justice. 1 hour is not going to be enough. You got to go there, sit down. If you're serious about the future of this country, about how you're present, forget about the future. We're not going to have a future if we don't stop these bastards right now. This is happening right now. So you got to start to document yourself, because I understand it's hard to believe, it's hard to think about it, but it did already happen. Other countries, other time. Now it's our turn. The globalists, they need to put America down. It's the last pretty much place that is somehow is still on the way for the creation of this global government. They need to destroy on our ashes. They will create finally their global government. And it's our duty as human beings, as Americans, to resist. That's what I'm trying to do here. The first way we can resist, we must know the truth. Otherwise, there is no way we're going to even find out what's happening right now.
And, Luca, the government has a history of lying to us. I've just published a new book that exposes the moon landing was all a hoax. We never went to the moon. I have 100 pages on the moon landing with 4 different experts. Saddam Hussein was not put on trial and hung. That was one of his doubles. Saddam was actually taken out by a B-1 bomber pilot on 7 April 2003.
Wow.
Just 3 weeks into the Iraqi invasion. Osama bin Laden did not die in Pakistan during a raid conducted by SEALs. That was a political relations operation to make Barack Obama look good for his triumphal re-election. He actually died in Afghanistan on or about 15 December 2001. You can learn the facts and supporting evidence in this new book entitled, And I Suppose We Didn't Go to the Moon Either. It's all there.
Perfect. Guess what? I already bought a copy, and I invite everybody out there to really that they are not afraid to face the truth. And everybody that now think, I think you're full of crap. I really think you're just, okay, guess what? That's fine. But all I'm saying, let's be logic, let's be civil. This man I have with me, it is not just a guy, okay? I mean, first of all, every human being that has a brain, a logic, we can use. We don't need to have a PhD. But we have James Fetzer, that is a man that is an educated person. He has degrees. And more importantly, he uses logic in a very, very serious way. And there's evidence and facts to everything he says. So that's more important. I bought a copy, first of all, because I like to really, you never know everything. And I really understand that there's so much more. Even the moon, I heard about it. I'm curious. But I also want to support you. I want to support you because I have an idea. Maybe, I don't know, you can give us a little bit better idea. There is, they call the persecution in different ways. Maybe right now in America, they still, unless you disappear completely, it's not like Italy, for example. If you publish a book like yours, in Italy, you would be arrested. Okay, if you just say that the Holocaust didn't happen, and I don't care if it happened or not, this point is about we have freedom of speech. That's the bottom line. Okay, you would go arrested and pay fines. In America, you can still write for now. But my point, I know you've been under attack. Can you tell us any type of situation, what happened to you or your family as consequence of your activism?
Well, these attacks on my website and the deletion of my articles has been the significant feature, no doubt, because I have a certain degree of prominence, and it would be much too alarming to the public if something were to happen to me personally. But the points you're making about the Holocaust are impeccable, because that's also addressed in this new book, where we have new scientific research that shows that the official account we've been given of 6 million Jews having been gassed in special chambers using Zyklon B cannot possibly be correct. It turns out that the Zyklon B is a form of cyanide. Anyone who died from Zyklon B, the body would turn pink, but we have no reports of pink bodies. And because of the way Zyklon B interacts with the materials in the walls, if in any chamber where it was used, they would turn blue. But the only chambers that turned blue were those that were used for delousing, because Zyklon B was using to contain body lice, which were responsible for the spread of typhus and other diseases in these camps. So we have objective scientific evidence based upon the laws of biochemistry and of material science that the official narrative we've been given about the Holocaust is not true. And this is extraordinarily important for a host of reasons, Luca. Even the term, the number 6 million appeared 236 times in print before the Nuremberg tribunals as early as 1890. 6 million Jews reported to be in dire straits or in fear of the loss of their lives. It has no historical basis whatever. It appears to derive from a disputed passage in Leviticus that has been interpreted as claiming that the chosen people will only be able to return to the promised land when there are minus 6 million who have been consumed in the flames. But even that requires an interpolation for the number, which was not a part of the original language in which the Leviticus was written, which means the whole thing is fraudulent. In fact, the best empirical data we have comes from the International Committee of the Red Cross, which had visited all the camps, kept meticulous records, which had reported by updating their findings in 1993 that 296,081 had died in all the camps combined, and where, remarkably enough, Luca, more Catholics than Jews died at Auschwitz.
Wow, this is very, very breaking news for me, at least. A lot of things I knew, but this part of the Holocaust I really like to study more. and I'm open, as I said, I have an open mind, and I wish everybody has an open mind before we jump to conclusion, we start to attack people. I know you every time you do something, you're backed by facts, and sometimes, we've been part of this matrix. We've been told things that we never had a chance to verify. I'm open to verify, and I really want to learn. That's why I got this book, and I want to say one more time, please, if you go to lovegunsfreedom.com, today's show, I will post the link directly to Amazon or to CreateSpace, whatever website you have, and people can go directly there, and if they want, they can purchase a copy of this book by James Fetzer, and I suppose we didn't go to the moon either. It's a very interesting topic, and I think it's worth it just to investigate. If you have proof that you can disprove him, go ahead. I want to thank today also you, of course, my friend James Fetzer, but also the radio station, KTOX 1340 AM, because, the show goes on the Internet, of course, and we still have pretty much freedom on the Internet unless they knock it down, YouTube or things like that. But the radio station I'm talking about, it's, I tell you, I can talk on this radio pretty much about everything, and I bring topics that no other show brings out, and I'm thankful. I'm thankful that I can still do this, and I hope I can do it longer. And I really want to thank you, James Fetzer, for all the work you've done to put in your life at risk also, because this is not a game, guys, okay? We're talking about people died for much less in the past. Let's put it this way. I mean, you know that, James. This is not a game. You're a human being. How old are you, if I can ask you?
Look, I'm tremendously impressed. You're a man of immense integrity, a great deal of knowledge, high intelligence. I'm just delighted to be here on this show with you here today. Thank you. I thank you again. I can't thank you enough.
No, thank you. Really bring me tears to my eyes. And maybe that was the point of my life and my destiny. I chose to come here to America. I had the call since I was a child. And I didn't know, honestly, I was going to come in the middle of this big hell. But that's the reason why I had to come here to join you, my brothers and sisters, to take this country back, to fight evil. That's fine. It's my honor. It's my honor to have met you, Jim Fetzer, and I want to be in touch with you, please.
That would be my great pleasure, Luca. Thank you so very much.
Thank you, guys. Now, don't go away. You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom on KTOX 1340 AM. Second hour is going to be about guns, and then we have our about love. A lot of great news, a lot of great calls. And I remind you, this show is not free. But at the same time, it's not like NPR. They get the money out of your pocket. We ask money, okay? Support the show, the sponsor of the show. And if you want to support me so I can bring you the show to this radio and to any other radio out there, it's very simple. Go to my website, www.zanna.us. For just 99 cents, you know what I do for a living? I write songs. Get any of my songs. Just $1, 99 cents. Doing that, you will support the show. And more important, you will keep the show free. So I do not need to rely on corporate sponsors that they try to pretty much dictate what I can say or what I cannot say. That's my point. Thank you very much. Don't go away. You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom.
You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom with Luca Zanna on United States.FM Network. You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom with Luca Zanna on United States.FM Network.
You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom with Luca Zanna, and we are on KTOX 1340 AM and also United States.FM Network. Second hour, as you know, my listeners, my friends, every Sunday I try to bring you news, information, and ideas about guns. Guns not as a tools on its own, like the gun is for me more than just a tool to entertain yourself or to have fun or as a hobby. For me, it's a very important tool. First of all, it's a status symbol as free human beings. And doesn't mean that because you don't have a gun, you are a slave. No. But I say if you have that right, and we have that right, especially here in Arizona, to be armed without government permit, that's for me what separates us from the rest of the world, from subjects that in every population, in every historical event, starting from the Romans, Egyptians, and of course every conquerors, whatever they did, the first thing they did, always disarm. their population, the subject. So at least we have this right in Arizona. And also for me, as I said, the gun is just a tool, and it is not bad, it is not good. It is just an instrument that pretty much can be used for good or for bad. You know, and I always try to think that for me, as a person that I believe in good, I want to use the gun not to take a life, but to save a life, okay? And that's pretty much the spirit of the show. And I'm here also humbly try to learn with you, and also try to reach out. I'm not here to try to, preach to the choirs. People already know everything. No, my goal is try to show to the population out there that they're listening to the show that maybe they think or they imagine that the people who own guns, they're just a bunch of rednecks. Nothing wrong against the rednecks, but, try to visualize the typical guy that pretty much, he shoot his gun off out of his garage, and make something very terribly unsafe, and maybe, he brush his teeth in the morning with his bayonet. No, we are just regular people. Now, I was reading some emails, some messages on Facebook, on one of my Facebook friends about the post, one of the latest show that I did, and I was very impressed because what this lady wrote was something that made me feel at least, I don't say accomplished, but gave me a purpose to continue the show. When I see people that pretty much give me the type of feedback, I say, I'm glad. I'm trying to do exactly this. But you know what? I'm going to pretty much let her explain exactly her story, her opinion, and I really welcome to the show this great lady from Apache Junction. Her name is Annie. Annie, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Nice to meet you, Annie. Finally, we can talk in person. We are Facebook friends, and we follow each other. And it's some kind of funny because we start to almost knowing each other without even never really met. You know my post, I know your post. And one thing really struck me a couple of weeks ago. You posted on one of my original posts a message that pretty much says something very interesting. Can you repeat it to the public?
I said I'm getting back in new to the guns because my brother was killed by a gun, and so I shied away from him. But now with everything that's going on, I feel the need to get back into it.
Exactly. And also I hope, I just hope that even just talking about guns in a way that we try to talk on the show, maybe for me the most important thing is to communicate with the public, with listeners, that maybe had a bad experience like yours, that after all, could have been a gun or could have been a hammer or could have been a knife. The gun itself, it is not the problem, but the person behind the gun, that can be a good person or a bad person. That's what makes the difference. You agree with me on that one?
Oh, I do. And don't get me wrong, I have always had respect for guns, and I have never stopped any of my kids from having guns. My husband's have guns, and I just never went out shooting. I just never, I just stayed away from them. I was just always very frightened of guns. And so but now I feel the need to get back into it. I used to shoot guns, BB guns, because I was just a kid.
Okay.
So I shot BB guns. But then I was only 8 years old when my brother got killed.
Wow, sorry about that.
And so after that happened, I just, I still had husbands and kids that got into guns. My dad was, my brothers were, but I just shied away from it. But now I do feel the need to get back into it. Now I'm kind of lost.
Okay, listen, I'm here, as I say, humbly, I'm trying to answer to the questions. And before we go ahead, I want you to ask me everything you want. I would like to say, that's the point. When we are informed and when we are educated about something, like, for example, chainsaw, okay? I'm terrible with handiwork, okay? And for me, a chainsaw can be more dangerous than a rifle, definitely, because I don't have enough education about it, and of course I'm trying to learn. I'm talking about professional chainsaw, but every chainsaw, every tool, can be very dangerous. That's why I think, especially for children, one of the most important things we can do to try to prevent accidents or tragedies, in this case, like, for example, may have happened to your brother. I don't know the story, but I know many cases happen, that unfortunately the little child wasn't given enough education, enough respect for the weapon, and maybe also the parents should have brought it and put it in a different place. But regardless, when we teach to the children that the gun is a tool that can be devastating and deadly, and also we can share with them the basic safety tips or safety rules. In this case, they are not tips, that we can help really to make it better. That's my point. I rather to talk to my child, if I had a child, about guns and show him exactly what they can do than just avoid the conversation. And maybe one day they can go to the next door neighbors and they can find a gun, and then, not knowing anything, they're going to blast something or themselves, harm themselves. So,
yes, I agree. Yes.
So we got to talk about it. I think it's education. It's the number one thing. And then, you don't have to have it, if you don't want to. But when you understand that things can be important, like I'm sure you have in your car, you have a spare tire, right?
Well, one of them.
Yeah, I hope so. At least a spare tire. I do. I have my little spare tire because I hope that I'm never going to use it. But what if I get stuck in the middle of the desert without it?
That's exactly right, yes. I totally agree with that, yes. I'm hoping I never have to use it, but if I do, I want to know how to use it, and that's my biggest problem is getting over my fear of guns.
Yes.
I've gone out shooting a few times. Mm-hmm. But I still fear it.
Okay. Listen,
I've tried, I watch my husband clean the guns, and I know how to load it.
Okay.
I know how to put the safety on. I know how to do all that. But it's just what the gun can do. And it fears me.
Okay.
And this is what I want to ask you is, how do I get over that fear?
Okay, perfect. First of all, let me do a premise. I'm not a psychologist. I am not, I'm just a regular guy. But let's say you're my friend, okay? Let's say we live next door, or let's close enough, okay? And you come to me and say, look, and normally that's what I do with friends, okay? I go to the range on Sunday, I try to share what I know. Let's say we are close, and I would say, listen, I understand perfectly. I respect your fear. There is nothing to be ashamed of, first of all. It's more than normal, especially after what happened to your brother. Now, what I would do, I would start exactly with the magic thing that you say, the magic word. At the beginning of the show, you said when you were a child, you were shooting with BB guns, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes,
Perfect.
All the time, right.
You have no idea how much good training you can start to do, especially with children or even people that they're afraid, start with a BB gun. Number one, I would go with you, get a good, let's say you have a pistol, okay? Let's say, first of all, what type of pistol your husband or you would have for you in your house?
Right now I have a 9mm SEG.
Okay. And
it was made in Hungary.
Okay, that's fine. As I said, the gun is fine.
I don't like it. I don't like it at all.
Okay.
I'm not comfortable with it. That was my next question. How do you find a gun? I think I would be more comfortable with either a smaller gun.
Okay.
I want a revolver.
Okay.
Or I want to learn how to shoot my son's .22 rifle.
Okay, there are two different issues.
Either smaller or bigger. That was my next question.
There are two different things. Let's start first of all. Number one, you need to find your gun, okay? Every person has a different hand, different body type, and different feelings, So, there is, at the end of the day, when you are practical, when you are a little more experienced, you should be able to shoot any gun out there. But especially at the beginning, since we are still able to choose, okay, we are not living exactly under martial law that we need to buy gun in the underground market. We can still buy guns in Arizona, everywhere. So, let's pick the right gun for you. There are two options. One could be you go into the revolver. One could be you go into the world of the semi-automatic. My personal humble opinion, with a little bit of extra training, doesn't need to take much more, I would suggest for a woman, as a first gun, a Glock 19. And I tell you why. First of all, the Glock 19, we are talking about a gun that there are not really any type of, very simple, very smooth, no corners. It's light, but also it's a strong gun, and it fits normally in the average medium-sized hand. And it's perfect also to conceal, but also it's perfect as a primary gun. Okay, it is not one of these subcompacts, too small, and it's not too big. So a size is perfect. Glock itself, It's a great brand. It's like you have, a truck. You always can sell it and get your money back. Okay, it's an amazing thing. Now, more important, they are very simple. Of course, they are not as simple as the revolver because now you have a slide to rack. But with a couple hours just to training, few times at the range, you're going to feel so comfortable, because at the end of the day, the Glock, it's like pretty much almost like a revolver. You have no any type of external safety. Your safety, it's your finger, it's your trigger finger. So you have many more rounds to work with. For example, in a Glock 19, you have in your magazine 15 rounds, at least double, if not more, than the average 3 times what you could have in a regular revolver, snub revolver. Let's say 5 rounds, normally in a 38, smaller revolver. So you got 15 rounds just in a magazine. The gun is safely, it's easy to operate, it's not that heavy, okay? It's still polymer. Of course, you had a slide is metal, but it's very reliable, and it's something that I tell you, the regular average woman, I like it for myself, but normally I like model 17, it's a little bigger, but I know all the ladies that I know, unless they have very, very big hands, Glock 19, it's perfect. That would be my first thing. So if I were you, I would start to think, or at least consider to sell the gun that you have, and you can make some money. With that money, you can put towards the Glock, okay? Number one. Now, what I like also about the 19, it's 9 millimeters, okay? I think, in my opinion, it's a perfect caliber for self-defense for pretty much everybody. I mean, don't get me wrong. People can shoot bigger calibers, that's great. But 9 millimeters of today, you have 3 advantages. First of all, the ammunition, they have a very great variety of great loads for self-defense. Let's put it this way. The 9 millimeters today, it is not the 9 millimeters of World War II full metal jacket. They were kind of not effective. Now you can get very good ammunition for good price that they expand as much almost as a 45. Okay, that's number one. Number two, you have, first of all, price. You cut at least 40 or 50% the cost of compared to a 45 or a 40, or even worse, to a 380 APC. I mean, the 380 ACP, the 380, you have a smaller caliber, a little less recoil, but they cost you almost the double. So 9 millimeters, you got the best price out there for ammunition. Something you want to consider. If you want to train, why should you spend double when you can spend $10, you can get 50 rounds, instead of spending $20 for 50 rounds, So something to consider. And then, of course, what I was saying, the recoil effect. I think you have a very good compromise. Anybody in your family can shoot a 9 millimeters without any problems, with a little technique and training. Now, I would say that would be my first choice. And then you can really start to think around your family, what a person has a gun. Your son, your husband, anybody else?
Yeah, my son's got the 22 rifle.
Okay.
My husband is into black powder.
Okay. They're all, listen, don't get me wrong. Every weapon, it's a weapon. Doesn't matter. We are the weapon. But the point...
Yeah, well, like I told him, I said, if there's an army in front of us, as long as I've seen you take to load that thing, we're going to be dead.
No, but the point, we have to visualize one thing. We try to avoid confrontation. The first thing we want to live another day to fight another day, and we're never going to face, never going to be able to face any army standing up against an army face to face. That's not the role. I'm talking, let's start with the basic things, Let's start for the regular scumbags out there, like would happen, let's say Ferguson, or a riots, or some sort of a thing like home invasion, things like that. We start with these typical things. There are 3 different things. We're talking about a handgun, perfect for self-defense. Then we're talking about a tool like a rifle 22 that it's great for survival. For example, you can go hunting in case of a need for small games, rabbits, whatever. Great for pest control.
Well, my husband's got some shotguns too.
Yeah, and that's good too. But one thing we should have all in common, I think, because the problem normally you don't carry your rifle in the back of your on your back or your shotgun. No. You don't go shopping at Walmart with your shotgun on your back.
No.
I mean, we could technically. This is Arizona, okay? We could, if you do right lawfully with a sling, but we want to avoid to give all that attention. So the handgun is something that we all can carry with us. So my first goal would be in a family to have every one of us has at least one handgun. Then what I would like to do, we keep it simple. Everybody has the same caliber of ammunition. That's why I like 9 millimeters. Number 3, I start to think maybe we can have the same gun, so we can share the same magazines, okay? Let's say in the middle of the night, you need to say, I'm out of ammo. Boom, give you my mag, okay? And you keep it simple. You can buy bulk. You can get a good deal on ammo. You can get good deals on magazine. Talking about the Glock 19, what also I like about the Glock, magazines. They are so affordable. You can get the original magazines, of course, from Glock. They are great for about $20, $23. But now there is also an aftermarket magazine that I have few of them. And I can tell you right now also where you can buy them for just $9. Less than $10. You get a Glock 19 magazine made in Korea. They are an original Glock, but they cost you half and they work great. At centerfiresystems.com. And that's the point. You don't need to spend $30 for a magazine, okay? You can get good magazine for $9, $10. So that's my point. So Glock, I would start first of all from the basic. Everybody should have a gun. You train together. You share the ammo. You share pretty much the magazines. Number one, and the holsters. Number two, rifle, completely different issue. It's important. And I would like to talk about this maybe another time, but the rifle, I would like comparing apple with oranges. The rifle is another tool. And so the black powder. The black powder is okay if you want to go have fun and hunt out there, but I wouldn't consider that my main tool for self-defense, okay? I would buy something else. Shotgun, different tool. There is a gun for every situation. There is a little bit of a
that's what I've been listening to you on your show, and I learned that. I even told my husband, he said, you should have a shotgun for if someone comes through your door.
Yeah, the shotgun is for your custom. The handgun is for
that's
your
what you
person.
said, yes.
The handgun is for your person.
I do listen to you. I really do.
Thank you. That's great. I really enjoyed that. At least for me, it gave me hope because I tell you, I'm glad. I rather don't get me wrong. I like to have listeners that they know more than I do. But when I can reach out somebody that wants to learn like yourself and wants to find the strength to come back into the Second Amendment, to guns, especially after the trauma you had, it gives me more value. For me, you're more important than many experts out there that they like just to me listening, talking with experts and blah, blah, blah. I want to reach out people that they are maybe not that sure. That's my goal here, okay? So exactly.
Well, I have learned a lot off your show. In fact, when my husband comes home, and you might want to cut this part out, he don't teach me too much. But I listen to you. Seriously, I mean it. But I listen to you, and so he comes home, and I tell him, Lucas at this and Lucas at that. And I tell him everything you say. I tell him all the time. And
at least nothing new, and this is nothing with your husband. And let me say a couple of good things about husbands. Unfortunately, the worst place to learn something is from your husband. And this is not just your husband. It's every husband normally. It's very difficult communication.
I've learned that, yes.
If you have somebody, let's say I have a girlfriend.
He keeps trying to talk me out of, like this gun that I got. I didn't really want this gun. And he talked me into it. And I was sorry afterwards because it wasn't really what I wanted.
How much
it
you
wasn't
paid?
What I was looking for.
How much did you pay for that, if I can ask you?
$400 and some dollars,
okay.
And it was used.
My gosh, let me tell you this. I'm getting kind of mad. I'm kidding. For $450, or even better, I have a place you can buy them used, Glock 19 or Glock 17 used, for less than $400, $380. But even if you buy a new one, you can go online, or you can find also shops. For example, one place I like to buy Glocks, it's budsgunshop.com, okay? You can get a Glock for like $500, okay? And then you have a gun that's going to last you a lifetime. But what I would suggest you, go to your local gun shop at least once, or find somebody who has a Glock 19. And see if you like it before you buy it. See how it feels on your hand. See if something that you feel comfortable with that, okay? That's the first thing I would do. But the point is, you had a budget that is a good budget. I mean, for that type of money you spent, you could have bought definitely a Glock 19, even with a night sight, with a little tritium sight. Now,
well, I think he bought it for himself more than he did
fine.
Me.
So you know what? Tell him that. You know what? That's your gun. You wanted it so bad. Give it to him. Now you say, I'm going to buy my own gun. Okay?
That's exactly what I told him, yes.
And tell him Luca told you, okay? This time, blame it on me, okay? So Luca said that I should look, because I don't know for sure. I want you to try it first, okay? I should look into a Glock 19. Because according to, I've never seen your hand, but I think you're a lady, and normally ladies have a smaller size hands than just the guy out there. And I think it's a medium-sized gun. The Glock 19 would be perfect for you. Then, another thing I was going to say, once you have your gun, coming back to the point, how do I pretty much can win my fear to go back and shoot this thing, okay? I would start, first of all, there are out there for $30 or less, these BB guns, okay? There is one that looks exactly like the Glock, okay? Pretty much the same concept. And I would start to look into a BB gun, something that, at least you start to feel familiar. You go there at the range, you put your BB gun.
Actually, I've been telling my husband that I want an airsoft gun because we can't shoot BB guns in town.
Okay, airsoft, that's fine.
Every place we have to go to shoot guns is kind of far away from where we live.
Okay.
Well, I shouldn't say far away because it's like 30 miles or something, but that's far away for us.
Oh, yeah, it is far away.
But anyway, it is. But the airsoft gun, I should be able to shoot in town.
Perfect.
And I told him, I said I want an airsoft gun so I can at least shoot it and start getting my aim good.
Yes.
And start practicing on that.
Yes, and guess what?
He actually did look at one the other day, but...
I think it's a great idea. It's a great idea. Start to get with a little airsoft like that. Now, once you got that one, at least you feel that, of course, the airsoft, there is no any type of... you're not waiting for any type of explosion. There is no bang, okay? So you feel confident about that. The most important thing then, what I would start to do... You get some snap caps, okay? Snap caps, they are like fake ammunition. Normally they are colored red. Could be red or another color, but they are not real ammunition. They look and feel the same, but they are pretty much with no powder. They don't shoot, okay? You can get for $10 a package of 9mm snap caps, okay? What you do, you stay completely in a room that there are no real ammunition, okay? And you start to find a wall in your home that there is some sort of protection. That means that behind the wall there is nobody living there, okay? Or maybe you have a wall that there is some sort of a ballistic protection, like, for example, bricks. Or anything you could stop a 9mm round, okay? So the first rule, no live ammunition in the room. Second rule, you close the door, nobody must bother you. Then you have this wall that you pretty much train against, okay? Then you get a target. Get a paper target and you put it on a cardboard, okay? Something that you will remove after your training start. Now, what you start to do, you will get a person that pretty much knows a little more than you do, if in this case is your husband. You can start to do some basic practical training things that they are very important and propedeutic before you go to the range. For example, how to be safe with your gun. You consider the gun now that it's loaded, even if it is not. It's always loaded. You can start to learn how to, first of all, check the chamber of the gun, how to check the magazine if it's loaded, how to load the round in the chamber, okay? How to load up the magazine, to do all things that you could do at the range, but you could do in the safety and the comfort of your home without real live ammunition. And that's very important. You learn a lot like that. I will do some YouTube video. I have a website. It's called handguntraining.tv. And if you join the newsletter, it's free. I will start to put out exactly chapters on YouTube of my book. I'm writing a book. It's called, Defensive Handgun, And I'm a professional student. I'm not a professor out there. I don't teach for a living.
You're pretty good. You're pretty good.
I just try to share what I know, but I will do some little YouTubes exactly of each topic. So something you can at least look from your home and start to do it. So dry practice, you can learn so much at home safely without any type of live ammunition. Now,
I do that. I was trying to start from the bottom up, and so I made him take the gun apart and show me how to clean it.
Yeah.
Do all that. I said I have to know how to clean my gun before I actually start shooting it, because it isn't going to do any good to know how to shoot this gun if I don't know how to clean it.
It's all important. It's all important. You want to be familiar with the gun. You want to know how to pretty much disassemble it, how to assemble it. But the most important thing at the end, you must be able to perform with that gun, because at the end of the day, everything comes down. The gun is there for the moment that you hope you're never going to need it, but if you need it, you need to hit the target. That's the bottom line. You need to hit the target for two reasons. First of all, you must stop the threat. Number one. Otherwise, you're not going to scare them out or scare it out, whatever it is. If it's a lion, mountain lion, or predator on two legs, you must hit if you think that your life is in danger. But more important, also think about liability. It's our duty as gun owners to be above the average citizen, because we have a great responsibility. With freedom comes responsibility. Just because we have a gun, we can just because in Arizona there is no any type of permit, and I like that. I don't want to have rights with permit. The right is a right. So we are great here. We have at least this right. We don't need to ask for a permit. And even when you get your CCW from the state, it doesn't really give you any training. This training is so little that they demand. It's nothing. But it is our duty to learn, be the best we can be, because for every round coming out of that barrel, we are liable, civilly and penally and morally. I mean, think about it. Let's say you have a gun and you have to use it, and you realize that your training is poor. You don't know enough practical information how to perform it right. And instead of hitting the scumbag out there, you hit a poor innocent bystander that was maybe behind him. That's devastating, You don't want to live with that with the rest of your life. And so we need to train. That's our duty. So guess what? I'm going to give you a gift, Normally I don't do that. I'm not a rich guy, but I really appreciate when I see somebody like yourself who wants to pretty much learn and wants to come back into the Second Amendment. I did it with another couple of listeners in the past. Did you ever heard about Frontside, Nevada?
Yes, I have.
Are you a member?
No.
Guess what? Now you are a member of Frontside, Nevada. You are a lifetime family member that you can attend every handgun class, shotgun class, a rifle class, at least the basic class. I will give you a legacy package that normally costs $6,000, and I give it to you for free.
No way.
Yes, way.
I heard you talk about this. I heard you talk about this on your show.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
And that's you.
Wow.
You deserve it. You're a great lady. Even I never met you. The fact that you're out there willing to learn, try to find out how to learn the skills that they're not easy to find out. I tell you, man, it's a journey. It's a journey that never ends. And to find the right people that they can teach you in a professional way, I think it's difficult. But at the same time, it's admirable the fact that you want to do that. So you will have only condition I ask you, though, just one condition. I want to see a photo of you with a Glock of your choice, of your gun of your choice. Seriously.
I don't like my picture so much.
Okay, you don't need to put your face out, but I want to see it. Tell me it's you. I say, listen.
I don't look like all them other girls. They're so pretty.
You know what? Doesn't matter. This is not about a beauty contest. It's about a mother, a wife, who is responsible, who understands the importance of the Second Amendment, who wants to defend your family, your rights, your properties. And this is what it counts. We don't have a show we're talking about, Kardashian or other things. This is about American people who understand freedom and want to really exercise our rights. So that's why I want to give you this free Frontside membership. The only thing I ask you, though, the moment that you have, I want you to have the gun that you told me, Luca, I found the gun that I really want. Not the gun.
I will find it.
Okay, and you send me a photo, and I will not post.
I will do that.
Okay, I will not post the photo with your face. If you want, I can crop your head. I don't care. But I want to have you with your gun in a good, ready position. Okay, and I'll show you the ready position in case you don't know how to do it.
Oh, I watch you all the time. I watch that. So, I watch how you hold it. I even told my husband that the other day. I said he taught me how to hold a gun because my husband holds it different. Well, he's got half a finger missing, so he can't hold it. His trigger finger is actually got half cut off, so he has to hold the gun differently.
That's fine, but whatever works for him. But you're going to hold it in a safe way, like you know.
Yes.
And you send me a photo, so look, I got my gun, give me my Frontside membership, and I will do in 5 minutes the paperwork, and you will be a life member of Frontside as a legacy member that pretty much you can attend the most important classes like the handgun, shotgun, and rifle, okay? Lifetime. We are pretty lucky. I know you are in Apache Junction. It's not exactly like Mojave County. I live 3 hours away from Pahrump, Nevada, but still pretty much driving distance for you too. And you can go there and you will see how much good information. Just attend you one class. How much your world, you come back home, you will teach to your husband. I mark my words. No, I'm not kidding.
I probably will. You're probably right.
No kidding. Even, of course, you need to still practice and master the things in your brain you start to learn. But you will have so much more knowledge than the average handgun owner that you will say, when you go to meet your son or your husband, or maybe you even friends, hey guys, hey ladies, this is what I learned. This is what I know, and that's normally what I do when I go to the range. As I said, I'm not a professor, but I go out there. It's my duty and my pleasure to share what I know to my fellow Americans. That's pretty much the bottom line. So now I'm so excited because now we have you with a new gun soon, and you will become, as you have your gun, a Front Sight lifetime member. Now, any questions for me after we pretty much discuss how to bring you back in, removing your fears, try to fight your fears of the gun, what type of first gun I would suggest you should have, in my humble opinion from here. Any other question I can help you with?
My son told me I should ask you about statistics.
That's not exactly that I have under my nose, but tell me, maybe something I can find out. Go ahead.
I have no idea. Because I said, what is it? And he said,
statistic for
you
what?
Don't know? I said, no, I don't know. I told you I'm dumb.
Okay, statistics for what? What type of statistic? Because
that's what I asked him.
I can give you statistics, for example, how many times a gun save innocent people, or many times guns have been used to try to prevent evil crimes. But the point, at the end of the day, remember, the way I look at this is not like a popularity contest. Our Second Amendment, your Second Amendment, my Second Amendment, at the end of the day, it's my right. Because tomorrow, let's say, first of all, yes, the statistic in general numbers, more people, more law-abiding citizens are armed. Less crime is there. These are exactly FBI statistics. All you gotta do, go on Google, put FBI statistics, and you will see the crime is going down. Since even the average state out there is having access to CCW, concealed weapon permits, they're gonna have a reduction of crime. That's a fact. And the proof is, look, for example, in places like Baltimore, or look in Chicago, that they are strictly...
Chicago, I was going to say Chicago, yep.
I mean, they have the highest gun restrictions out there. Pretty much the Second Amendment doesn't exist, and they have the highest crime. We don't even need to be scientists to understand exactly the numbers. But more important, common sense. You can see that. But even before that, I don't care if tomorrow, let's say 99.9% of the people, they become crazy, okay? Like, for example, there are bad drivers out there. You know that some people, they drive very poorly, and they should probably not even own a car. You know what? I don't like this collective sense of guilt. I am what I am. I'm responsible for my own actions, and nobody's going to take my individual God-given right just because the 99% of the idiots out there, they don't know how to put their finger straight, or maybe because they have some problems. Okay? So at the end of the day, even if tomorrow the control freaks, they try to bring us statistics, and you know what? I am not part of the statistic. I am a person. I'm an individual. And nobody's going to deny my individual rights just because 51% of the people say so. That's the way I look at this. That's what I would say to your son. Say, yes, the statistics, they're important just for knowledge, if you want to have a conversation with somebody. But normally, I never debate my rights. Because we can go head-to-head with people. You want to have a debate? I can debate you just for fun. But at the end of the day, I say, if you want to take my guns, the only way you can take my guns off my hands is when I'm dead. Seriously. Because I'm not going to give it to you. I don't care how many laws you pass.
I agree with you.
So,
I feel the same way.
Otherwise, if they start to say, hey, we have a statistic and we have 51% of the people that they say you don't have the right to have a gun. Guess what? This is not a democracy. It's supposed to be a republic where the rights of the individual, they are protected. And you will see, you will know that you need a Second Amendment when you really need to use it. And I pray we never need to have to use it. But I tell you something, you know what happened? After they take your guns, you're pretty much a subject. Look what happened in Germany.
No,
or in China.
He likes his guns, so don't take him the wrong way.
Yeah.
Actually, you'd probably get along really well with my son. He's a chef.
Perfect. I love that. Maybe we can talk also recipes. Besides guns, I like to eat. That's
yes.
Another thing I like to do.
Actually, he's working out at the nuclear plant right now. I don't like it, but
That's kind of a rough environment. I agree. I would rather to be back in the kitchen, than to be in the nuclear plant. But at least whatever now he needs to do is a tough economy. At least I respect.
He hates it. They had a drill the other day, and he wasn't sure if it was a drill or not, and he was scared to death. He's
sure.
like, they won't even let us out of the building.
I'm sure.
He was scared to death.
I'm sure it's very scary. I agree with you. But listen, so that's my answer to your son. Please, statistics, go online, look at the FBI statistics. The bottom line is more guns to law-abiding citizens, less crime. That's the bottom line. Go ahead.
I feel the same way.
Hit me with another question. Come on. And then I give you also some input myself for the rifle.
The rifle?
Okay, you have a new rifle in the house. As I said, the shotgun is to defend your castle, the handgun is to defend your person, the rifle is to defend liberty.
Right.
What rifle do we have around your place?
Well, my husband's got shotguns, and then my son's got a .22 rifle.
Okay.
And I want to learn how to shoot the .22.
Good. Okay. Now, 22, what type of model 22? Does it make any difference? But I'm just curious. What type of model?
Oh, geez, I don't know.
No problem. Listen to me. Shotgun, it is for the castle. It's okay. 0 to 20 yards, all right. Okay, it's a great tool, very powerful. You can put slugs. You can also increase it to maybe 80, 90 yards. Fine. But that's not a rifle. Two different things. You need one rifle at least in the house. The 22, it's great. It's great to practice. It's great to learn, to have fun. And also for survival, it's really good. You can save the center fire ammunition, and you can use it without making too much noise, to get small games. And don't get me wrong, 22 in the right hands, you can get, if you get good shot placements, 22 round is the most lethal rounds in the history, because more people have died with the 22 because it's so small and fast. People underestimate it, and people die with a 22. You don't die immediately, maybe, but, you can do good shot placement between the eyes. Everything goes down. But that's not the rifle we need for defending freedom. We need the real center fire rifle. Now, the economy stuff.
But you can't even buy 22s hardly anymore.
Exactly.
I went up to buy 22s the other day, and they asked me if do they still make them?
Very true. It's very hard to find 22. Now.
Yeah, he told me that there's scalpers going up to Walmart, and as soon as the truck gets in, these guys buy them.
I know.
And then they go out in the parking lot, and they sell them for more.
It's very sad. That's the truth. But one thing I tell you, and right now also I'll tell you to all the listeners, there are several places online you can still find 22 for decent prices. One of the places is this one. And this is not even a sponsor. I just say this because I really want to share good information with my listeners, okay? CDNN Sports, Charlie Delta November Sports.com, okay? They have good stocks of 22 for a reasonable price, consider the time. That you can find them online, okay? Number one, just Google it. Go also on cheaperthandirt.com. They have.
Oh yeah, I got there. Yeah.
Okay. Now, that rifle, I want to share with you and all the listeners an incredible deal that I'm almost tempted to buy myself another one, but I got a few of them. I have no more room in my I don't know, I sleep surrounded by rifles. But if somebody needs a nice AR-15 Bushmaster, okay, with the M4 carabine in 5.56 with a quad rail for just $449.
Is that the one you had on your page?
Yes. Normally they're $890, $870, and it used to be this during the crisis of, when they're trying to pass the assault weapon, over $1,000. $449 with a rebate. And the beautiful thing, you don't even pay the sale tax because they ship out of Texas. So they ship to your local FFL dealer. You find an FFL dealer that got the paperwork for you. You go there. You pay just the transfer. Normally, they would charge you between $25 and $30 for a transfer, but you save, of course, the sale tax, and also you pay half of the price. These are all sale prices, okay? This rifle, if I had to have at least one rifle in the house that everybody can shoot, yourself too, this rifle has pretty much almost no recoil. It's a 5.56, also 223 if you want to call it in civilian version. And the magazines are cheap. You can get $10 magazine, good magazine, even Magpul with $12. And they come, by the way, this rifle comes with 3 magazines, okay? And it's a Bushmaster. I mean, forget about it. I would just buy a couple just as an investment, because you wait a couple more months, and when the next time Obama or anybody else after him is trying to make some sort of a speculation or try to pass some sort of bad legislation, this is better than money in the bank, okay? They can double your money, seriously. That's the bottom line. But one rifle, you must have a center fire rifle. Even this wouldn't be my first rifle. I like a 308 but this is rifle anybody can shoot it. It's easy, and the price, $449.
All right, this is my next problem that I'm having is I'm having a problem buying any new guns.
Yes.
Because I don't want my name on the list.
Okay. I understand. Now, the gun that you bought before, the one, your handgun, did you buy it privately or you bought it through the store?
I bought it at a gun shop.
Okay, so you're already on the list.
I'm already on it?
Yes.
So it's not going to matter if I buy another one?
No. At this point, I would buy more and I would laugh at them. The fact that you're talking to me on the show, you're already on the list, okay? Trust me.
No, yeah, I know that. I don't care about that.
The fact that you're on Facebook and every time you click like, and this is all computer. I mean, this is not just a person following us. This is like living in the matrix. They're following everything we do. There is a point, I say, I understand. We try to keep our profile low, even for strategical reasons. But there is a point, it's 300 million of us. And the moment that we start to live, I will change our lifestyle and live in fear just because we don't want to show what we're doing, what we're thinking, especially when we're doing nothing wrong. We're just American people exercising our rights. They are the ones that should be ashamed of themselves and should be afraid of the wrath of God and our judgment, because they are acting as tyrants. So, no, when I buy a gun, I used to think about that at the beginning. Maybe I can buy privately. You know what? Screw them. I buy every of my gun. I bought them online. I got them on with the payments. I got them on, at this point doesn't make any difference. Unless I want to completely live my lifestyle like a monk, and I'm going to have some sort of a double life. And even there, even just you get a subscription to a gun magazine, or you got a donation to some event, it's all trackable. Doesn't make any difference now, in my opinion. Honestly, now, they need to understand that every time you buy a box of ammunition, or you go to a shop and you buy a gun, they start to see that it's many of us, it's millions of us. And they should be very, very concerned if they want to do something. We need to deter violence. I am trying to avoid violence. I don't want violence. And the best way to deter violence when somebody is a scumbag out there, or is an evil person, or is an evil dog, or some sort of a wild animal, you show them that you're not afraid. The moment that you fear, what if the dog, if you got a rabid dog in front of you, the moment that you run, what the dog does, jumps in the back or goes for your throat. If I look at the dog and I stand my ground, or even a bear, I have better chances if I scream at him and throwing a rock at him than just running. You know that. Same story with evil, corrupted governments. The moment that's the problem.
Probably a whole other topic.
But
I could talk to you for probably forever, because I have a lot of opinions.
Yes.
But I don't put a lot on Facebook or any of that, because I don't want everyone knowing what I think.
That's good. That's good. And, I respect that. That's great. But now we're talking about guns. So in my humble opinion at this point, find the best deal you can. If you can find your gun at the shop, if you find a deal, I will go for it. There is a pro and don't. One thing I like when you buy a gun at the shop, I know for sure that the gun is clean. That means it's not stolen, okay?
Right.
If you buy a gun that is from some private party, you can get good deals too. Maybe you can get, and in Arizona, this is beautiful. It's, you can have private sales, or you can show your ID, a little bill of sales, and everything's cool. Not many states you can do that. Excellent. Only point is, what if then you realize that somebody sold you, even by accident, a gun that was stolen? Then you lose all your money.
Oh, right. Yeah. I agree.
And then you gotta go to the cops. When they stop you, they pull your gun and say, you need to explain yourself. Maybe you need to get a lawyer too. Not worth it.
Yeah.
So
right.
I would say, and also,
that makes sense. Yeah.
And also another thing, let's use their system to get what we need. Okay. I don't like credit cards. I don't like banks. But when I need to buy a gun and I can get very low interest, and maybe sometimes, you are on paycheck, you cannot buy everything you want immediately. Maybe it will take you 2 years or 1 year. What I do, I get, there was, for example, a website, budsgunshop.com, that a few years ago, they used to give you like a free credit card, free interest credit card for 12 months, interest free. Mm-hmm. So you apply for the little card, or even if you have a good card, let's say that you already have, and give you very good low interest, you can make your little payments in 12 months, and you got everything you need now. Because what if tomorrow something really happened the next month or summertime, and you say, by Christmas I will buy the rifle I want. Maybe by Christmas there is no more rifles out there you can buy, or maybe it's going to be illegal to buy a rifle. So I will do a family meeting, prioritizing, start maybe to sell what we don't need, even, for example, things from out of the garage, or cut costs, things that, at the end of the month go adds up. And, you don't need much. For a Glock, we're talking about less than $500. Now, I got you today this link on CDNM Sports, an incredible AR-15 Bushmaster M4 carabine platform in 5.56 for less than $450. No, it's amazing. I will get a rifle and a handgun. You already have a shotgun, and I'll give you the free front sight membership, lifetime legacy membership, $6,000 or more of value, and you can go there to front sight the rest of your life, train and have fun, and when you come back home, you are the one sharing what you know to your family. You become like the source of learning.
That'd be awesome. That'd be really.
So you can leave your husband at the house cleaning dishes, taking care of the house, and you go to front side, say, hey, husband, I'm going to learn. When I come back, I teach you too.
I would love to know more than my husband.
That would be great. I'll tell you, so I really believe this is something that, at this point, you know the deal. I'm here. I put my words out officially. I just want to see when you have your Glock 19 or whatever Glock you have, whatever gun. Look, I say, this is my gun that I really want. I try it out. This is my gun. And when you're ready with your gun, you contact me. And I want you to see it. And you next time I'll put you on Facebook if you want with your head crop so nobody can see your face. But you will have your gun and your front sight membership in your hands. How does it sound?
I really appreciate it. I really do. I do love your show.
Thank you. Okay.
And I do feel really actually honored.
No, I appreciate you. I appreciate you. You give me hope. And, I don't even want to ask you your age because you're a lady, but I know that you're a mother. You have a son. And I wish every mother out there.
I'm actually older than you, so.
Okay, so, I am 68. As you know, I'm kind of, I look.
You are not 68.
But anyway, remember, it is not the age. It is how we feel inside. That's the bottom line. And the point is, this is exciting. And I wish every housewife there listening to the show realize that the gun is just a tool. Like you have a little, your knife to cut the pineapple, or you have, like say, the little rolling pin to make pasta or whatever. It is just a tool. It's the person behind that is become the chef, your skill. And the gun, in the good hands, it's a good tool to defend life, to save lives, okay? And, just common sense. We don't need to articulate more. You already know. We are all living on planet Earth. I wish evil didn't exist. I wish we would live in a perfect, ideal world, but unfortunately this is Earth. And there is evil out there. And what happens? Evil has different tools. And sometimes, not everybody is a black, belt or whatever, or not everybody is 300 pounds, special forces martial artists. No, we have maybe people that are older, women, and whatever. We need to have a tool that's called the Great Equalizer. That's why the weapon is the most democratic, even I like the word democratic, but the point is the most equalizer. Everybody is the same. You got your gun, you know what? Even if I am an older lady or I am an older guy, guess what? Don't mess with me, even if you're a 300 pounds guy, okay? That's the bottom line. So now I want to dedicate a song to you before I go ahead.
Oh, wow, yay.
Okay.
I tried to show my daughter you the other night. She said that some of your songs were too radical, but she really liked your serenade.
Okay, I like that. What exactly the song? Say please to your daughter, what is the song that is so radical? Give me a couple of titles. Any idea?
The one I like that you do?
Yeah, well, no, the one that is most radical song out there that...
I like the Don't Tread on Me.
or don't tread on us. That's not really radical. What does it say so radical about it? Don't tread on us.
I still like that one the best, though.
Okay, good. So I'll play for you that one, okay? Now.
Oh, thank you so much.
Very good. And also another thing I want to say, for the listeners, okay? I mean, I'm here, I'm trying to do my best, and my goal is to reach out American people or anybody out there in the world who believes in freedom. You know, I want to pretty much defend our individual rights, okay? And as you can hear, I don't talk much about regular sponsors because I tell you, when I start to talk the way I talk, you know, I don't have any type of compromises. You know, I talk what I think is right, and I would never deny the truth when I know it, just to compromise with sponsors. So my goal here, I'm here because of regular listeners, regular people out there like you who can support me. It's very simple. You don't need to be rich. All you got to do to have even just 99 cents. You go to any of my website, but I give you right now my main website for my music. It's called Zanna, ZANNA.US. If you appreciate what I'm doing and you think I'm trying to do my best and you want to keep me staying doing what I'm trying to do here, it's the way to support it is very simple. Go to my website, Zanna.us, download any of my songs. I have written more than 100 songs the last 15 years and produced them. You can buy them all if you want, or you can buy just one. You can buy the CD, or you can buy the single download for just 99 cents. Even just 99 cents, the price of a very, very cheap little coffee. You support the show, and more important, you support the opportunity to keep the show free. I can talk about any guns I want, anything I want. I don't need to say, oh my God, I can say that things about it because maybe the sponsor doesn't like it. Or no, I say exactly what I think in my heart is the truth. So that's what I want to say. And now I want to say thank you again, Annie, from Apache Junction, Arizona, and say my best to your husband, to all your family. Share the good news. You are very soon to be a new lifetime member, family member at the Frontside Firearm Institute, okay? So, you know what you got to do.
Yes, I know what I have to do.
Perfect. I give you the floor for the last 2 minutes. Whatever you want to say, and then we go with the song.
I guess I just want to say there's a whole lot more I want to say, but on a different topic, different topics.
Okay. 2 minutes. Go ahead.
And oh my Lord, I know so much, and I hear so much and see so much. And one of the things I wanted to ask you, if I could not download your plane thingy today, your chemtrail thingy that you had up, it wouldn't play for me. But I wanted to see that because someone had mentioned about the little planes going over and dropping stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Being here in Apache Junction, I have seen so many little planes going over lately. I've been here in this area for 15 plus years in the same location.
Yeah.
And I have never seen that many small planes go by. And I have seen a lot of the military helicopters going over too. And I can't talk to my husband about it because he just thinks I'm a wacko. So, but I couldn't download that. And he said something about how the small planes are dropping stuff too, and I wanted to see that.
I can send you the link. By the way, this is not a conspiracy. It's true. I mean, there was also.
Oh, I know it. You know what?
In Prescott Valley was.
I didn't have any allergies or anything up to probably 2-3 years ago.
Exactly. Me too. I mean, never had any problem here. We have no flowers on top. I live in the middle of desert. Okay.
No, I never had any sinus problems or allergies or anything, and all of a sudden, a couple of years ago, they started getting worse and worse. Mm-hmm. And I keep telling my husband it's those darn chemtrails, and he just looks at me like you don't have to put all this on. He looks at me like I'm weird or something, and he doesn't want to hear it.
Okay, listen, this is going to be a topic for another show, but let me just give you right now a simple answer to your husband. Tell him to call me, because I would love to bring facts and evidence. This is not a conspiracy. We have documents. We have websites directly from the state.
I tried to show him. He won't watch them.
And that's fine. At this point, nothing you can do. There is a point that you can try to carry the horse to the water. He doesn't want to drink. Let us sit there.
Well,
Okay?
that's what I tell him.
And one day, you know what? One day he's going to realize that, unfortunately, he had a chance to do something, but that's okay. Now, go buy your gun and be ready, guys. Don't go away. You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom with Lucas Zanna, ready for hour number 3. It's going to be all about love and the right of a mother to feed her child with goat milk against the evil powers of the little town of Visalia, California. Don't go away.
We're not your slaves. Don't tread on us. You cross the line. Soon you will pay for all your crimes. Don't tread on us. We're not afraid. You work for us. We're not your slaves. Don't tread on us. You cross the line. Soon you will pay for all your crimes. After a long train of abuses and dissipation, now we've lost our patience. You're trying to kill our constitution, to kill our pride. Now the wood is dry. Don't tread on us. We're not afraid. You work for us. We're not your slaves. Don't tread on us. You cross the line. Soon you will pay for all your crimes. Keep on pushing us into desperation. You will only fuel our determination. Yeah. It's been way too long since the last time, 1776. Now we're done with your tricks. Don't tread on us.
Have you ever met someone on an online dating site and thought, wow, this guy is perfect for me, or she is simply amazing, only to find out they were hiding a deep, dark secret? They plan to vote for Hillary. FreedomLovers.us was created for singles who want to exchange ideas and a love for freedom. People who are looking for solutions to create and defend freedom in the real world, and at the same time, getting that once-in-a-lifetime chance to find their true soulmate. Whether you are interested in meeting your soulmate, making new friends, networking, or hanging out with that like-minded liberty lover, visit FreedomLovers.us. It's the first free dating site and community. So patriots, don't waste your time with other dating sites. FreedomLovers.us is the place where like-minded singles really click.
You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom with Lucas Zanna on United States.FM network.
Here we go. Final hour of Love, Guns, and Freedom with Lucas Zanna. This is the hour normally I talk about love, and we will talk about love. Today, a different type of love. The love that a mother pretty much shares with her child against, in my opinion, not just a corrupted government. It's really out-of-control government. A government has no business pretty much to infringe on somebody's right to be able to feed her child the way she wants. Now, a friend of mine, Mr. Andy Mastrocola, he sent me this email, and it's a kind of interesting story. I'm learning right now with you, but I think the best way to learn exactly the story about this family in California, a little town called Visalia, where pretty much it's all about local government, a couple little miniature goats, and the right of a child to drink goat milk. Now, let's see once ago what's going on, and because I think the best person to explain exactly what's going on is the mother. The mother pretty much now, she's facing thousands of dollars of fine because she must comply with the little lords there in Visalia, Government, California. Now, her name is Gingy. Gingy, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Okay, Gingy. I've been reading a little bit about you now and trying to learn, but as I said, the best way is to pretty much learn directly from your voice, okay? First of all, tell me a little bit about exactly where is Visalia? Well, am I pronouncing it right? Visalia, California, is that correct?
Yeah, it's Visalia, California. We actually are a little tiny town in the middle of basically the agricultural breadbasket of the world.
Mm-hmm.
A large percentage of foodstuffs come actually out of the Central Valley here in California. But our particular city, Visalia, we haven't actually updated our household pet or, pet ordinances since the 1970s. Mm-hmm. And the current ordinance states that you cannot have any animals other than the basic dog, cat, and birds, with the exclusion of chickens, in the Central Valley. So the way our ordinance is, there are no food-producing animals allowed within the city limits.
Okay.
One second,
Molly. Let me 1 second ask. So the point, just to be understanding for sure, I got it right. Sometimes my accent, I'm kind of slow. Now, so you mean that the city, the ordinances pretty much says that the citizens, in this case the taxpayers/slaves, they are not allowed to have anything but cat, dog, and maybe chickens? That's all you can have?
No, chickens aren't allowed either. There are no food-producing animals allowed in our city.
Okay, got it. So, and the reason why is because they did not update this ordinance. Now, question, you have neighbors around you, correct?
That's right.
Anybody's complaining about these two evils, little miniature dwarf goats? Anybody's complaining about these terrorist goats?
Everyone loves my goats. All of my neighbors that share a fence with me, they give my goats treats. The girl on the other side of me actually sends her children over to basically learn about animal husbandry. They come over and pet the goats, comb the goats, feed them. They help me clean their stall. All of my neighbors that share a fence with me have actually written letters to our local government asking that they return my goats.
Oh, one second.
My goats have broken no ordinances.
Oh my gosh, 1 second. I'm so excited I missed a couple steps. So, did they confiscate your goats?
They basically told me I had to get rid of them or I would face a $1,000 a day fine.
Wow.
For every day that I had them.
Okay. All right, this is interesting. Now, let's start to recap because I'm so excited that sometimes it takes a little more time to explain. I went straight to the point. You're a mother, you have a husband, and you have 2 children. How many children do you have?
I have 2 children. I have now she's 9 weeks old and a 20-month-old.
Okay, so you have like a very baby infant, and I think this is the little baby who needs the milk, okay? And so the point is you have those 2 little, how do you call them? I don't want to mispronounce them. This is the breed of these goats. What is the dwarf goats? They're
called Nigerian dwarfs. They're one of the 2 smallest goat varieties on the planet. They're very tiny.
Yeah, I saw them, by the way. I wanted to get some for myself pretty soon. So you got those little beautiful, cute little goats that pretty much they are better than dogs sometimes. They're less noisy and less dangerous sometimes, okay? I mean, they're cute little animals.
Absolutely.
Okay, they don't do any type of damage to anybody. They don't disturb anybody. Your neighbors, they're all pretty much excited. At least they didn't complain. So now the point is some bureaucrat in the city of Visalia pretty much discovered that you are a criminal, and I'm being sarcastic here, and you have those illegal aliens, Nigerian goats, And I've been sarcastic there too. I'm sure if you were harboring probably 2 people from Nigeria without a visa, they would be fine with that. They would give you a medal. Okay.
Our area being agricultural, actually, we have a lot of illegal immigrants from Mexico that come in all the time.
But nothing to that. Go ahead. I'm sorry. No, not a word said about that. They're so worried about your little Nigerian goats. That's my point.
Yeah, mine are the pressing issue. They're the little demons that need to be taken care of. So, it just absolutely boggles my brain that this is such a hard case for Visalia, that this is such a pressing issue that, my goats have broken no ordinances, and no sound ordinances, no trespass ordinances, no health ordinances. They are model citizens compared to the goats, or to the dogs and cats in my neighborhood. Yep. But, just because they have hoofs and they feed my children when I'm unable to produce breast milk, that's their only crime. Yeah. So the priorities of our government just blow my mind.
This is not about even priorities anymore. This is about control. The point is, in their mind, we are slaves. And I tell you, I'm not trying to exaggerate. This is true. First of all, on my own property, if what's supposed to be my property, of course, we pay the lease. It's called the property tax, but that's another story. I don't want to go there. What's supposed to be my property, unless I disturb or infringe on somebody else's right, I should be left alone and be pretty much being able to enjoy my life in the peace of my family and everybody else around. Instead, here, the situation is different. The government pretty much tell you what you can have. And if one day you will have probably that privilege, it's not a right to have a goat, like you may have the privilege to have a dog, you must pay, of course, their blood money. It's called the mafia money, okay? That means the fee for the license. Now everybody, everywhere in the world, pretty much, American, of course, included, if you own a dog, you must have the license tag, okay? Just because you own a dog. In some cities now, even the cat must be registered. So the point is, guys, if somebody say, I don't care, I don't have goats, guess what? Tomorrow they will come probably for your son. That's the bottom line.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? So my point is here, first of all, not because it's my business, and nobody else's business. You should have pretty much drink whatever you want, and so your children. But I know there is a good reason. You're a very educated person, and you're aware of what's going on with the food, pretty much invasion of this GMO, genetically modified food. Why do you exactly, why cannot you give a regular breastfeed to your child, and why don't you go for some regular formulas out there?
Well, first of all, I want to say I am so happy to hear you speaking out so bluntly and plainly on this matter. But to answer your question, I was actually born with a birth defect where basically it's called tuberous breast hypoplasia, and the condition alone affects my ability to breastfeed. But when I was a teenager, I underwent a series of surgeries, reconstructive surgeries, that basically removed all of my breast tissue. So I'm completely unable to breastfeed. Wow. And when I first found out that I was pregnant and was looking into ways that I could obtain food for my newborn, I knew I didn't want to go the route of infant formula because here in the United States, over 90% of infant formulas are made by the big three manufacturers, like Johnson, Abbott, and they all have GMOs. They all have actually given money in California to defeat Proposition, I think it was 36, that's to label GMOs. Wow. So I don't, and with, we have no labeling of GMOs. Even if something says that it's clean and healthy, there's no guarantee. There's absolutely no guarantee. So I knew I didn't want to go the route of formula. And according to the World Health Organization, the closest milk to human breast milk is goat milk. And again, you run the same problem with goat milk commercially purchased, because if a goat has been fed GMO feed, whether that's grains or alfalfa, that actually shows up in the milk. And even the American Goat Association, their official journal, just in March of this year, has stated that goats that have been fed GMO, it actually interrupts the way they digest their feed. And the nutrients that would go into their milk just basically gets absorbed. It doesn't get into their milk. And in effect, they have smaller, weaker, and sicker baby goats. So I knew I didn't want to rely on, commercially bought milk. And so the only organic raw goat milk options I found here in the Central Valley where I live is about an hour drive away from me, and it would equal out to about $32 a gallon.
Oh my gosh.
And my children basically drink that in 4 days, 1 gallon in 4 days.
And also another thing, please go ahead, continue, then I'll tell you something. Go ahead.
Yeah, so that just isn't financially feasible for us. So that's why I decided to go ahead and get my goats, because it is the financially sound only financially sound method for us to procure the cleanest, safest, healthiest food that I can for my children without being able to breastfeed.
And when did you get them? How long did you have them? Let's see, how many days did you break the law here? Come on.
Well, I basically had them, my righteous civil disobedience.
Yeah, I'm with you.
I had them for about a little over a year. I want to say about 7 or 8 months.
But you must go to Guantanamo.
Before we were sold.
I must suggest you for a special room in Guantanamo because you are definitely a domestic terrorist. You understand the danger of GMO and Monsanto, those our masters out there that they care so much about us having good food for ourselves. And then, of course, you complain about local government that does not allow you, this little privilege to have a couple of goats that pretty much they are very dangerous, by the way. This fresh milk is so bad for you. Now, I'm being sarcastic, of course. Now, trying to be serious because it's a very serious topic. And that's, sometimes I try to keep it cool and I am pretty calm. But there is a moment that I say, when enough is enough, American people. We call ourselves, I don't call anymore ourselves the land of the free because we used to, but not anymore. I don't have the type of, brainwashed brain that I say we are land of the free. We are the land of the free, home of the slaves. That's the reality. And I tell you very simply now how. Look at this case. If now you tell me in a little town of Visalia, California, a mother has not the right to have a couple little miniature dwarf goats. They do not disturb or infringe on anybody else's right. And just to provide a little bit of milk, affordable milk for their family, for her family, and we're supposed to fear the local government. And pretty much this family is facing over $1,000 a day of fines. And they love that stuff like that because they're going to take you home if you don't pay. That's pretty much what they want. Okay, so bottom line, guys, if you tell me what is the explanation, just because they say so, just because they show the point that you are a slave. And, I don't use this word slave very much lightly because the point slave means at this point that you are not anymore in control of your life. I'm not talking about endangering somebody. I'm not talking about doing some sort of health hazards to others or try to damage somebody else's property. I'm talking about on my own little property. I have 2 little pets that, by the accident or maybe just because it's nature, these little pets, instead of being dogs or cats, they are little goats and they make milk. And they give me, who turned you in? How did they find out about your evil plan to have raw milk on your property?
Hold on one second. My little one is interrupting me.
No problem. This is real show, guys.
Sorry, my little one is really excited and is trying to run in the bedroom.
No problem. I can continue if you want. Keep talking and keep taking care of her. I can give a couple of seconds if you need to.
Okay, yeah, no, my husband just took her in the other room. I apologize.
No problem.
She heard me talking in here and was trying to climb in the bedroom. Repeat the question?
Who turned you in? Who was the evil person who turned you in? You were turned in by somebody into the city, I guess, right?
I'm sorry. Say that again. I can't understand the question.
I said, who was the person that pretty much informed the city or the town of Visalia that you were having these evil gods in your home, at your place? Somebody must have.
From what I understand, it was a gal who actually works for the city that lives not on my block, but basically around the block from me and a couple houses down.
Mm-hmm.
She had no idea that I had the goats. It wasn't until she actually she got up on a stepladder and was looking over her fence when she looked into our yard and saw the goats. So that's from what I understand. As soon as she found out that we even had the goats, but they haven't caused her any problems. She didn't even know we had them for over half of a year. But basically, I wanted to say real quick of what you were saying earlier. It's one thing that I wish I could say to people is I always follow, like InfoWars and Food Freedom USA and, the Farm to Consumer Legal Defense Fund. And I always hear all these stories of people having their freedoms infringed. And to me, it seems, while I'm fully, well aware of how our government is overreaching and overbearing and really, trying to take control of our lives, you kind of see it from like a spectator's point of view, and you have this kind of insulated thought, like that will never happen to me. Like, yes, I know that's happening in the world, but that'll never happen to me. And so now that I'm dealing with this right now, where I am, the government is trying to tie my hands and say, you don't have the right to your private property. You don't have the right to feed your children the way you want to. It's really, really eye-opening to me. I mean, we used to be a nation where you were free to do anything as long as it wasn't strictly forbidden. Now we basically are forbidden to do anything unless it's strictly allowed.
Yeah.
And that is not what our founding fathers had in mind.
Exactly. On
top, when we created one nation under God,
No, we are one nation under the government. That's the bottom line. But my point is this one, this is very serious, especially for the listeners that they're there, and they may say, after all, I don't even like, this type of milk, as we were talking about. This is not about you, not anymore about the milk itself. It's about that today they're coming for you, my friend. Tomorrow they will come for somebody else for some other reason. And we got to really show to the government, I don't care which government, state, local, or federal, that we are united. And I'm telling you something, I am here for every way we can find this as a peaceful solution, because we got to show that at this point, there is a point that, how much can you give in? How much can you surrender your rights? The point is today you lose this battle. Tomorrow they will come for another situation. Tomorrow they may say, what, after all, you don't need your cat. After all, maybe you need to pay a fee for your cat too. Or maybe, what, by the way, already I'm aware that in California, correct me if I'm wrong, people that were selling raw milk, like down on the beach, I forgot exactly where, not Santa Monica, anyway, in California, Los Angeles area, they were raided. You cannot really sell or buy raw milk. Am I right?
Yeah, actually, recently, I believe it was in Humboldt County in Northern California, someone was facing jail time, not even for selling milk, but for bartering raw milk for organic veggies with his neighbor.
Yeah.
And that was about last year, I believe, that happened.
That's my point. I mean, look where we are right now. People out there, please, even if maybe you're not really interested into this, you think, after all, you go buy, shop your food wherever you want, that's fine. But think about if you believe in freedom. We're supposed to be the first piece of real estate that we have the moment that we are born. I don't care how rich you are or poor you are. We all have one thing in common that we're supposed to own. It is our body, okay? And the moment that somebody else claim ownership over our body, and in this case, the food, I'm not allowed to eat the food I choose, because government says so, because they decide what is best for me. This means slavery, as simple as that. There is no other way to cut it. The moment the government will tell you what is good for you to eat, when you are over 18, you are pretty much in the full awareness of your understanding. It's not like you're a minor, you don't understand. I'm supposed to eat rat milk if I want to, okay? Forget about raw milk. I'm going to go straight for rat milk mixed with cyanide, and I'm going to make a cocktail if I want to. And you, government, leave me the heck alone. It is my body, okay? That's my bottom line, guys. This is so powerful. I mean, this is so sad. Now, the show is called Love, Guns, and Freedom. I always say, the first thing we need to have is love, because without love, there is no motivation to do anything, and there is no freedom. If there is no love, how can you even motivate yourself to do what you're doing? You love your children. You love your child. You want to give her good milk. You don't want to give her that garbage stuck in that boxes, probably, created by sub-products, and not even my dogs I would feed with, all this formula, they're full of sugar, full of fats, and full just of GMO soy that is dangerous for even animals' consumption, for God's sake. Forget about humans. And they try to force you to do that. That's all you can give to your child, especially with your medical condition. Shame on this local government of Visalia. At this point, this show is not just to make you freak out or entertain you or try to get you some, oh my gosh, no. Every one of us, me included, we have the duty to do something. First of all, we need to learn the facts. And I'm glad you're here sharing with us. Second of all, we must do our researches. I invite everybody to call the city of Visalia to verify what's going on here, because there is a beautiful phone number that I've seen here. And I'm going to give it right now. City Council of Visalia, California. The concerned town that is so worried about those two evil little miniature dwarf gods. They're endangering all the city, according to them. The phone number is 559-713-4512. 559-713-4512. And by the way, I would like to have, whenever you can, Gingy, to send me a photo of these very dangerous gods, because I need to post them on my website, lovegunsfreedom.com, so everybody can understand what type of danger you're creating for the society there with those two little evil miniature gods, okay? So send me the photo, we'll post
Absolutely.
them out. So every one of us should call, This the call is still free. We still have a First Amendment, supposedly, okay? Don't be, don't tell them that you're going to beat them up or things like that. We are peaceful people. We are believing in, the rule of law, but also we believe in the First Amendment. Don't go crazy. I understand sometimes the rage can be very passionate, but we keep it cool. But at the same time, be stern. These people are public servants. They work for us. And I will call myself 559-713-4512. And even if you don't live in Visalia, it doesn't matter. We're still American people. This woman is still one of us, okay? We are brothers and sisters together in this nation, and we got to take it back together. So that's the first thing I would like to do. Second thing I wish you can do, my listeners, I will post on today's show, lovegunsfreedom.com. For every show, I post also a page of the show. There is a link. GoFundMe, exactly about this case, making mini gods legal in Visalia, California. And you need exactly, at least you post as a goal, $3,598. Exactly for what? Can you explain us?
Yeah, basically, in order for me to have the ordinance rewritten in our city to allow miniature goats, I have to basically pay for the legal fees of having the ordinance rewritten. And the city does have the power to waive this fee. They've actually waived the fee before for whenever the city council members have had personal projects they'd like to see done. They've waived this fee for each other. But in my case, they're not willing to waive the fee. So if I want to move forward to have this law rewritten, they're going to charge me $3,598, and that is non-refundable if they decide they don't want to pass it after all. So what we're trying to do, what I would like to see, is if the community could really step forward, step up, contact the city, let them know that this isn't just a matter of someone wanting her pets back. This is a matter of me trying to feed my children as best I can. This is a human rights issue. This is, this goes far, far beyond just, owning some cute, fluffy goats. And they are very cute. But, they basically, we're going to be meeting at the next city council meeting on June 1st and appealing to the city one more time to waive this fee. If the fee is not waived, we are going to continue to try to fundraise and get this. I personally cannot afford this exorbitant fee. It's really extortion money, is what it is.
Yeah. How many people?
The taxpayers.
Excuse me. How many people live in Visalia, California? How many residents?
About 120,000.
Wow, it's a big town. I didn't know that. It's kind of a big town. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
And so, any help from local newspapers?
The local newspaper has covered our story a number of times. Of course, it's been a little downplayed. We had a rally when this first happened. I met at City Hall to let them know what was going on. And we had a rally of well over 50 people, and the newspaper reported that we had around 30. So it was kind of downplayed a little bit. We have had a little bit more coverage. They did cover that the city is was choosing not to waive that fee. And since then, we have had a lot of public backlash and a lot of public outcry. I've been going to the local farmers market with some miniature goats so people can see them firsthand and see how tiny they are. And ever since we've been doing that, we've been getting a lot more local support. So I'm starting to get fairly optimistic that we can make this happen. We can basically, appeal to them. And it kind of makes me laugh because our mayor actually has on his website, stevenelson.com. He has on his website, we may not always agree, but, I'm old-fashioned in my politics. I work for you. I'm here to serve you. And I find that interesting because our community is overwhelmingly, I call it pro-goat and pro-chicken. We want the right to have food-producing animals on our property. We recently had city hall meetings where people have come out in hordes and just taken up the entire public comment session saying, we want chickens, we want goats, we want the right to be self-reliant and self-sufficient. And his record so far is 100% voting against food-producing animals. He votes against them going on the agenda. He votes against waiving the fees for ordinance changes. And so I find it really interesting that he, prides himself on being, here to serve the people, because from my angle, from my perspective, and, from coming to the city council meetings, the city council is not listening to the citizens of Visalia. They're not listening to the majority, overwhelming majority, that wants basically their property rights back, their right to property, their right to privacy, to freedom, food freedom.
This is very serious. What I'm here, first of all, I'm looking at the face of this leader. It looks so pompous on his face. I'm not trying to be mean, seriously. Sometimes I can see the aura of what is inside from the shell. The shell, it looks like a jackass. Seriously, this is just me talking, okay? Please don't blame it. Steve Nielsen, the mayor of Visalia, don't take it on this lady. It's me. My name is Luca Zanna. You look like a plain, hardcore jackass, okay? And honestly, I don't want to offend the jackass, okay? You are just worse than everything I can see. You're a pompous, arrogant, seriously, because the fact, or you're just arrogant, you're a power trip, or you're paid off by somebody else. I don't know. Maybe we'll figure it out. But something's wrong. Something's really wrong with this little town of California. And I'll tell you something, I always put in this order: love, then there is guns, and there is freedom. The first thing, love, as you say, you're the mother, and you're making the example. You're sharing your love for freedom, and also for your family, of course, for a principle, the principle we're talking. Number two, we must be aware, of course. That's what we're trying to do, bring awareness. Then there is a point. They're all tyrants. I don't care in which part of history, when, or which part of the world. And California right now is leading the example exactly how much they are tyrannical towards the citizens and the residents. They want you disarmed. They want you completely castrated, not just mentally, but also physically. The point is, if there is an armed population with knowledge, the first weapon is knowledge. You must know your rights, otherwise you have no rights. But after that, you must have the tools, because the point is, tomorrow the government can say, you know what, I don't want to just forbid the right or your right to have a milk from some cows or whatever. Maybe we want just to take your property, or maybe we're going to pass a new tax. It's going to be so impossible to pay that you're going to lose your home. The sky is the limit. They're pretty much declaring ownership over your body. So my point is this, I'm coming to this point. The next thing we should have after we have love and knowledge, it's guns. Because guns in the arm of law-abiding people, and I'm not talking about the laws that these scumbags they're trying to pass through their sewer pipe of the city council or whatever. I'm talking about godly laws that they're still within the boundaries of our Constitution and Bill of Rights. Okay, because even Hitler passed laws. That doesn't mean that they were constitutional, they were human laws. They were the devil's laws, okay? So that's my point. The moment that there is a point, a fine line, people need to understand, they need to stick together. We don't look for violence, we look for peace, but also we look for dignity. And we have the right to defend our dignity and defend our property. So we'll never go, speaking for myself, I will never use a weapon as a first person. But the moment that you force me, and I said this many times on this show, that you treat me like a slave, and I say one more time, it's not just about coming to take our guns. You come on my property, you try to put a meter on my well, that's going to be the last day I see this be on the planet, because probably I'm going to be dead after a few minutes, but I will not comply. Simple as that. I'm on record. Same story with guns. I live in the Golden Valley area, Mojave County. It's a county area. Thankfully, we can have everything we want still. But no, I'm not going to comply with things that they're out of this mind. Just because they say jump, I'm not going to jump. But the point is, instead of coming to this point that we need to face extreme situations, when all the neighbors, all your friends, all your family, more important, the residents of the city of Visalia understand the gravity, stick together, just showing up in numbers. Stop this. What do you think about this?
Yeah, I think that a lot of people underestimate that real change and asserting our rights and reclaiming our rights is very achievable. And not only is it achievable, it's our duty. If you don't fight for your rights, they will be taken from you. It's actually shameful to see how far we've handed away our rights to every level of government, municipal, local, state, federal. It's frightening. And I have already seen kind of a change in tone in our city. When I first started gathering people together to fight this. At first, they kind of brushed us off. Now, all of a sudden, they're paying a little bit more attention because, the paper has commented on this multiple times. Everyone in our city knows about it. I was actually in the store the other day, and someone stopped me and said, "Hey, you're that girl whose goats were taken. How's that going? I'm rooting for you." And the thing is, if everyone who is rooting for me, so to speak, or who is concerned about this, were to actually show up at City Hall or pick up their phone and call the, elected leaders, we would see change. We would see our rights coming back, turning back around. If we are, seeing our rights slip away, we have no one to blame but ourselves. Complacency is the equivalent of servitude when you really look at it.
Exactly. This is really no difference, my dear friends, listeners, from the time of the Middle Ages when there was the Lord out there and you were wanted to, for example, let's say you want to go hunt. You must ask for the permit, of course, of fish into the Lord's land. And then when you come back, you must give half of your game or whatever you get out there to the Lords. In this case, you still must beg for a permit, even to have the most basic human rights. We're talking about a little bit of food, little bit of milk from some, very inoffensive, little goats. And this is just one of the many things. Now, I want to say one more time, there is a phone number that I don't care where you're from, if you're from New York, if you're from Michigan, if you're from Mars, I don't care. You got to call this number. I will call myself as this bastard's open office on Monday. The number is 559-713-45112. Excuse me, 12. 559-713-4512. This is City Council of City of Visalia, California. A little town, not really little, 100,000 people. That's big enough for me, too big, but that's okay. Where pretty much they're denying the basic right to have a couple of little goats, miniature goats, no complaints out there. Nobody's, everybody's happy. All the neighbors is okay. But, these goats, they are very also for a good mission. There is a little kid who needs milk, and the mother cannot provide milk because of a physical problem that she had in the past. So she must rely on this milk to avoid to give some garbage, GMO, soy base or whatever base they put in this crap from the stores. So that's pretty much the sample. This is for me now in the hour of love. I want to make like a mission. If we love freedom, if we love this little child, if we love the situation that this mother is trying to do, and tomorrow can happen to you guys, we got to help out, okay? Let's start with a phone call. And then I say I will put on here on this lovegunsfreedom.com the site where there is GoFundMe. Unfortunately, the city is playing game. They want $3,500 a change to just review this new change of ordinances, okay, or whatever it is. So we got to help out if we can. I myself, I donate a little bit today, but the point is, let's do something. Let's not be selfish. Let's not just go back to our regular life. This is too important. Now, I want to let you go the floor, give you 2 more minutes, whatever you want to say. Please, go ahead.
I think we pretty much covered it. I really, really do appreciate you bringing awareness to this, and I really am floored by how supportive everyone has been in the community. I do get some people that say, oh, well, I'm not from your city, so it doesn't concern me, and while I'm deeply sympathetic, I don't think it's my place to call or to email, but I think that is entirely the wrong way to look at this. We are a community, and I think as patriots, honestly, it is our right and our duty to stand up for freedom. When you see someone, what is that old adage where I saw someone being oppressed and I didn't say anything, and then now when someone's taking my rights, who's going to stand up for me? Basically that's what it really comes down to. I'm in a very upsetting, really, position. It's very frustrating. I feel helpless. I feel desperate. I'm looking at, my options, and I feel like I'm being oppressed. I feel like I'm at my wit's end. I don't know what to do, and I'm doing my best to fight for my freedom and, human rights to property. And it would mean so much to me if fellow Americans would stand up and stand beside me and help me in this fight. And I truly believe that if enough people spoke up and if enough people spoke out, we could, it's so silly in the scheme of things. It's 2 little goats. But I truly think that we can change the local law here in Visalia. And I think that anyone, anywhere, can call and help make a difference. And it would really, really mean a lot to me as a mother, as an American. It would mean the world to me if someone would take the time and just join me in this fight. So,
Gingy,
I'm not standing here alone.
Gingy, a little bit off topic, but not really. It's all connected. Are you familiar with this new, very freedom-loving, I've been sarcastic, of course, new piece of legislation coming from Sacramento, California, where pretty much they will declare your children property of the state. That means that they will own their bodies, and they will force vaccine your child, when he goes to public school.
Yes.
So.
SB 277, I'm very, very, very well aware of that. We are, actually, my husband and I are in the process of yesterday, we actually attended a protest against that particular piece of legislation. We are I was homeschooled growing up, as was my husband.
Yeah.
And we do intend to homeschool our children. So as it stands right now, it technically doesn't apply to us. They have strict religious exemptions, and if anyone wants to take their child to daycare or to public school, they have to be vaccinated. And this is such a infringement on rights. I mean, I get worked up and frustrated when I talk about this particular issue. But why we're fighting so hard, even though it doesn't apply to us, is because it may not apply to us today, but if they keep on winning these victories and these rights, not only over our bodies, but now over our children's bodies, what's going to stop it from now homeschool isn't exempt? This is, if someone doesn't stop this, it's going to just continue and continue and continue. So, yeah, my husband and I are actually very, very well aware of that piece of legislation.
I'm surprised that you still have the right to homeschool your children in California. Seriously, I heard stories that's getting harder and harder. Like, for example, in Germany now, it's pretty much forbidden, verboten, as they say. You can't homeschool anymore because the child belongs to the state. That's the bottom line. That's the way it works in Cuba. That's the way it works in China. It used to work in Germany, and now it will work also in the new America with a K under this global government. Pretty much, that's what they want. I'm telling you.
Well, what's scary is like people currently in office. I mean, the Obamas, Michelle Obama, they view, and Hillary Clinton, they view children as property.
Yes.
They view the children as belonging to the government. They are not, the family unit to them is basically just another cog in the giant wheel to earn them more revenue.
Yeah.
And they see you as churning out little servants for them, and they can decide what you feed your child. They decide what you put into your child's body.
It is,
and
it makes
it's a completely
sense.
different mindset.
It makes sense. Why? Because they pretty much need collateral. They're first of all of the tyrant in this case. A Trojan horse like them. These people working for international bankers. First of all, they need to run the credit card to the max. Okay, so they pretty much they putting us out of business. Trillions of dollars, impossible to repay for generations. And at that point, what happens? The moment that you're born, you are part of the collateral. The moment that you're born, your labor the next 40, 50, 60 years, whatever they're going to decide to make you work, pretty much going to go back to the Federal Reserve, the private Federal Reserve, to pay the interest on the debt that these scumbags, they sold us out for. So that's the part of the plan. But as I said, it's all connected, my dear friends. And I want to I really commend you and your husband, to be courageous, to stand up as a family for your children, for your property rights. And I pray somehow maybe some act of God, put some sort of fear into these evil spirits of the city of Visalia, councilmen and public servants. Question, there is a mayor, and there are, how many councilmen do you have there? How many of these people?
We basically have the mayor, the vice mayor, and 3 council members.
Everybody's on the same page? They all hate these gods? I mean, nobody said maybe we can talk a little bit about anybody workable?
Well, first of all, none of them were talking to me, at all. They basically foisted me upon the city planners and said they'll explain the process to you. And then they told me, the council member said that we're not going to waive the fee, and you have to pay us just shy of $4,000. Well, since I've gotten more vocal, I personally have still not spoken to the council member Collins, who was interviewed by the paper. But just a couple of days ago, our paper did another article and said that they interviewed Councilmember Collins and asked him, would you be willing to make the motion to basically waive this fee and get this ordinance changed? And he had stated in the paper, I would be willing to if they asked me to do that. Well, we already did ask that last month, and we got shoved aside. So we're going to be asking again on June 1st. But it sounds like now he's a little bit more open to sponsoring this and to because we need a council member to put it on the agenda.
Wow.
That's either I have to pay $4,000 to put it on the agenda, or they have to take the initiative, listen to the citizens, and put it on the agenda themselves.
Wow.
So it sounds like now he is open. I have sent him a personal email asking if I could have, a one-on-one private conversation with him or a face-to-face and discuss this in a little bit more detail. I still haven't heard back. I mean, in their defense, it is a holiday weekend. I haven't, I sent this email on Friday night, so, I'm not sure. I don't know if it's them brushing me aside or if they just haven't been in the office. So I'm open to, I'm anxiously watching my inbox coming week to see if I get any responses. But June 1st is when we are going to be getting a rally together, going back to the city council, asking them one more time, please put this on the agenda, do your job, use your discretionary funds that have been provided for by the taxpayers who want to see this law change. We want the right to have small, responsibly owned, eco-friendly, food-producing animals on our private property. They're not hurting anyone, and the way I view it is my rights end where another's begins. As long as my animals are not infringing on anyone else's rights on their private property, what is the problem?
Exactly.
This is a victimless crime, so to speak. You know what I mean?
Are you familiar with Agenda 21, Gingy? And do you have any idea if your town of Visalia, California, pretty much apply to ICLEI, I-C-L-E-I? It's part of Agenda 21. Are you familiar with that?
I am familiar with Agenda 21, although only recently, when all of this started with the goats, I kept hearing people making comments about it, and normally I'm actually very up to date on these things, and for some reason I had actually never heard of Agenda 21 until this whole thing went down, with the goats went down.
Okay.
So
let me
I'm
tell
just
you,
now becoming up to speed.
Let me give you some interesting news, okay? They will never call it Agenda 21 at local level, because otherwise people are freaking out, but there is you have to call under the special wars, okay? Sustainable development. Now, I'm here on the website called proinc2.info and shows the ICLEI members, and I will send it to you because it's something important, and it seems like Visalia is part of Agenda 21, okay? So here we go. Let me tell you right now, I am exactly, this is the list of ICLEI members. They're pretty much, these members under ICLEI, they don't call Agenda 21, they call ICLEI. And there is a website, ICLEI, the name of the, and you go there in the United States, there are all the members from all the different parts of the world, and you go there, United States of America, and let me tell you this right now, and I see here, Visalia, California. This is part of Agenda 21. And that makes sense. Normally what happens, all the members of the city council of the town that applies to Agenda 21, in this case under ICLEI, they have pretty much directives. This is not an accident that they've been playing jerks with you. It is not an accident they're trying to stop you to pretty much have this ordinance reversed. It's not an accident they're trying to fine you thousands of dollars. The idea of Agenda 21, that we are slaves and the government, in this case global government, control the resources, starting from the little milk you can have or the water in your well that is not yours or even the grass over your yard. So is this something new to you, that Visalia is part of Agenda 21?
Yeah, this is actually, I've heard some people make similar comments, but prior to this starting, it had never even crossed my radar.
Yeah, and now I said, because they will never send this, they will never tell you, the keyword that they use now in these local governments, they call sustainable development, okay? And you will see, I'll send it to you right now, the link, and you will see there is a list somebody was able to get, because now if you go to the ICLEI website, they block. You must have a password to have access of the name of the cities in the U.S. that they are part of Agenda 21. But somebody was able to infiltrate it and to post this information on the link I just sent you. And I will post this link
I'll
also
definitely check it out.
onto that. And I will start to ask to these public servants, not leaders, they're public servants. They think they're lords. The point is, I would like to ask them, are we familiar with the ICLEI? Are we part of ICLEI? Are we part of the sustainable development? And they need to give you an answer. This is no more some sort of a private business that they're running. So, and I tell you, this makes all sense now. The way they're treating you right now, like a bunch of slaves, begging just to have a couple of little gods on your property. This is exactly the example how every one of us will be treated under this United Nations global fascism. Now, I want to thank you again, and please keep me posted how it goes the first, and I'll send you, of course, all my support, and I'll try to share this with everybody out here and around, because this show doesn't go just on the radio, on KTOX 1340 AM, also on the internet. I pray you listeners share it. More important, do your job, do your duty. Call these bastards at the city of Visalia. Let them know that we are aware. And there is a point that they pretty much, we point the spotlight on these roaches, and sooner or later they need to come back home. They need to understand that they still live on planet Earth. They are not living on Mars. This is pure tyranny. And at least we must speak up and stand up against tyranny. Thank you very much. My best to you, your family, and your husband. My prayers are with you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me on. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. And you're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom with Lucas Zanna. Don't go away. Little bit about little news and little more love.
If you love wealth better than liberty, the tranquility of servitude than the animated contest of freedom, go from us in peace. We ask not your counsels or arms. Crouch down and lick the hands which feed you. May your chains sit lightly upon you, and may posterity forget that you were our countrymen. The line in the sand, you know the time is coming. The line in the sand, are you going to watch while we're fighting? The line in the sand, just tell me now where you're going to stand. How much more you gonna take it? How much more you gonna fake it? Now you decide what you'll do when they come. They'll come for you. See, with just a few seconds.
That was The Line in the Sand, musical lyrics by myself, Gianluca Zanna. I remind you, if you want to support the show, it's very simple. It's just 99 cents if you want to, or more, depends. It's up to you. I'm not relying on corporate sponsors. Of course, they're always welcome, but I rely on the listeners, because my goal is to keep this message as free as possible and not be conditioned by any type of special interest. Simple as that. If you want to support the show, when I say 99 cents, why? Because you can download this song or other more than 100 songs that I've wrote and produced going to my website, www.zanna.us. And guys, let me tell you something, the beautiful thing about the radio in general, especially private radio, and I'm not talking about things like NPR, that pretty much they're still part of it, their funds through tax dollars, okay, without your consent. Private radio, it's free, or at least it's free for you, because private companies and private sponsors support it. Let's support it, especially talk radio. I think it's very important. Now, we are at the end, I would like to talk more about many things, but I realize that I want just to let this song play, because at this point, after you hear to the story of this family in Visalia, California, they were pretty much, they're treated like slaves. This mother has no more the right to feed her child, with the natural, milk from the two little goats, okay? They need to go through all these loopholes and pretty much beg to their new lords. These are like the time of the Middle Ages. Used to have the Lord, the King, the underlords. Nothing really changed. The only difference is now, these lords, we elect them. We elect the new lords. Some of these people, they forgot. They're supposed to be public servants. And by the way, and there is the connection. And I found out, this lady wasn't really aware, but I'm glad we found out, talking about it. Visalia, it is under ICLEI. It is part of Agenda 21. I found the official website. Just Google it. Put on Google, if you want, to any other search engine, put Visalia, California, ICLEI, ICLEI. This is part of Agenda 21. That's why they want to control the resources. That's why they want pretty much also deny the right to have a little bit of organic food. And it's not going to be just about the goats or the chickens. It will be also your garden. They want to control that. People that are going to jail in the cities because instead of growing flowers, they're trying to grow, for example, tomatoes. And now you need to have a special permit. Guess what? Only slaves have permit to grow food for their own personal sustainment. We are not slaves. That's the bottom line. And we gotta stop this. We gotta start really to stand up. If I can give you my personal humble opinion, how we can take this country back, how can we stop all this tyranny? First of all, we need to completely destroy their system. They want you to be dependent on their system. So start to, first of all, be aware, be educated. Do you really need that type of, GMO food at the store? Do you really need that dirty water, dirty water that pretty much is called, Coke or Pepsi or whatever? Why do you need that? Why do you need to make these people rich while they're poisoning you? They put in corn syrup, GMO corn syrup, or aspartame, or, water that only God knows what it's made for, or this meat full of completely estrogen and antibiotics and hormones. Educate yourself. And these vegetables, don't give that type of power to this corporation like Monsanto to put poison into you. Grow your own stuff. Let's put them out of business. Every one of us, if tomorrow we could start just few vases, forget about a big garden or a big yard, just get some vases, and instead of growing roses or other flowers, grow food. That would be the first thing. Grow food and learn. Start to control the quality of the water that you drink. Get some good purifying system. Don't drink the chlorine-filled water with probably with probably fluoride from the cities. Be sure that you drink good water. Stay away from TV. Cut them off. Close that cable TV. Put them out of business. People like O'Reilly or Madoff, all these overpaid whores for the New World Order, put them out of business. Don't watch them. And then, more important at the end, buy a rifle. Buy a rifle and train. And draw your line in the sand. You gotta draw your line in the sand, because the moment that they will say they come to get your children, and they will come pretty soon now in California, they knock at your doors to give them a forced vaccination, or they come to get your animals, or they come to control your water, like this global socialism, this global New World Order, communism agenda, to destroy the individual and the individual rights. We gotta start to stand up. First, you stand up for yourself and for your family, and then united, we can stand up for America. That's my humble message to you. And this is serious, guys. So if you want to break this machine, let's start to create our own independence in our own families. Let's grow food. Let's get educated. Let's be self-efficient. And let's be armed. Armed with honor and knowledge. That's my point. So you've been listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom with Lucas Zanna. God willing, I'll talk to you next Sunday. If I don't see you, if I don't hear you, maybe something happened. But hopefully not. Ciao.
He's a songwriter, a poet, a rifleman,
I'm not afraid,
and a constitutional activist.
I'm not afraid,
Italian by birth,
I'm not afraid,
American by choice. Gianluca Zanna.
I'm not afraid.
And his new CD, Love, Guns, and Freedom. 16 powerful songs on one CD from the heart of a patriot. For download or to order the CD, go to www.lovegunsfreedom.com. That's www.lovegunsfreedom.com. Lyrics for your mind, music for your heart. Gianluca Zanna's new CD, Love, Guns, and Freedom.